aspects you touched upon today, and which are, for some people, that those are natural, but some people have to seek out that advice. And of recent, that advice has become more ominous, um, because of the society we live in, the culture we live in. But when my mom was growing up, she had didn't have these concepts. So she had some concepts, what you touched on, but she didn't have particularly, for example, what is the risk that was involved? Did she foresee the risk? And if there was a risk, was she able to manage it? I think that's where she failed. So she had tons of ideas she would come, but not necessarily have social skills, not necessarily have um, a management of risk, how to change and how to adapt. So there she failed. I feel very sorry for her. But I guess that's life is. So you did touch upon various concepts. I think the points here were, one, to be passionate about something. If you have got no passion, the idea won't come up, the idea won't survive. So love what you do, and choose something what you love to do. That's very, very important, very crucial. And I guess what you're also saying is, you have to be patient, I guess you're saying, because oftentimes business is to be successful. Those guys who are 2-3 years down the line are still standing up compared to several others which have fallen down, were because they were committed to that. And they had a vision that at some point they will be successful. So they just prodded on, isn't it? They prodded on, and therefore success came to them slowly. And some have been hugely successful. And also, I think in passing, you also mentioned that if you believe that something is possible, it is possible. You can make that happen. Nothing is impossible. I guess that was one of the points. And then you said risks are bound to happen. Risks are, as a part of a business, risks are bound to happen. And it's how you manage those risks. Basically, you said, learn from your mistakes as quickly as possible, and then find answers to those risks. And I guess some of us do not have all the skills necessary to run a business. Therefore, networking is very, very crucial. As you said, see, for example, one of my sons is very introvert. He has got no social skills, but that's how he is. But you did suggest that you need to have a team of other people, like-minded, enthusiastic like you, have a vision, and have an integrity. And these are all crucial ingredients. I think what you delivered is very excellent, and what you've achieved so far in your life is very positive and motivating when I look at your profile. And certainly it's inspiring me to do something, because we are at this stage in our life, and we are all small entrepreneurs some way or the other way, because every time you wake up, either in your personal or professional life, you do come across a variety of things. And if you start writing all the things you think could be done differently, you'll come up with a dozen ideas, I'm guessing, each day. And you just need to understand, what are these ideas and how can I change something in here? And how can I make that change? And just one idea, you need to be kickstarting yourself, isn't it? And then several ideas will flow. I just wanted to ask you about your experience. You started with one business, but then a question comes, can you be a serial entrepreneur? Is that possible to be a serial entrepreneur like you've done? Prabhu, you're muted, I think.
There we go. Am I hearing? Yeah?
Yeah, very good.
Yes, yeah. Sorry. Yeah, that's an interesting question, really. I mean, being a serious, it's like running a chain of businesses, or there are two models, to be honest. And one, you do what you like the most. You are best in what you do. Typically, you will find professions of information technology, which is mostly nowadays, they tend to be very uniquely one-dimensional. But when we say one-dimensional, it is the target audience, which is going to be uniquely one-dimensional in what the product is going to be delivered to them. But parallelly, you will also see that people tend to drive energy from that source where they have targeted initially, and then they frequently go to the next one. So they learn a lot from one and apply that learning to the second bit, the third bit, the fourth bit. Not every one of them may be successful, but because the first one has been successful and it's been going well for them, they tend to take that and do it in their second, third, fourth, fifth venture. So the ventures will give satisfaction to some individuals, some people. And in a way that also kind of stratifies the risk, so that all your eggs are not in one basket, and you tend to have a portfolio of companies or investments. So from a purely middle of the ground risk taker, that is probably what would be good for them. So they can have not one business, but at least one more, if not three or four. So if you can diversify your businesses in such a way, then it will be useful for yourself, so that one business, if there is any issues, the second can give you the support.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, that's great. So we'll open the floor for the questions. I'm sure in the group, I think we got 17. I think the last count was 17 people participating, which is quite encouraging. And perhaps in the group there are people who want to start off, reignite their passion for something they always wanted to do in their life, either for personal reasons or for the professional reasons, or there might be some entrepreneurs already in the group. It would be nice to know if they have any questions or they share their experience with the audience. So I welcome the guests in the group to fire of any questions, please.
Srini, there are questions in the QA section, almost 10 questions.
Okay, 1 second, please. Sorry.
Yeah, if you open the QA section, there are lots of questions for Prabhu.
In the chat.
You.
Okay,
yeah,
very good.
So in the QA section, not in the chat.
QA section. Yeah, where do I go? Sorry.
Where do I go from there? Q&A. It says Q&A.
Get it.
Prabhu, are you able to see that? Sorry.
Yes, I can. I think that's,
okay, yes,
that's interesting. I didn't see it first. Sorry, apologies.
Thank you.
Yeah, so let's go through one by one. I think I have it here first. Gomathi Margabandhu asks us, isn't risk-taking a double-edged sword? Yes, it is. It is. And unfortunately, anything in life is, for that matter, even marriage is for many matters. You are not sure what you're going to, and it is a risk. But then that's the thing. What is risk in life? We are risk-averse society in many ways. Entrepreneurship dies if we are risk-averse. Life dies if we are risk-averse. You can't play a sport without injury. Then does that mean that we shouldn't get into a sport? Boxing is full of risks. Cricket, you name it. People sustain fractures, people break bones, near misses, they die. The idea of taking risk is a typically individual based, which is always projected on to our immediate members of our family and friends, where we rub upon that risk to them. And then it goes on to the next bit where our friends come into play. And in an organization, it goes on to the third and the fourth strata and the layers of our management structure and to our workers. Managing risk is different to taking risks. The taking risk is almost always the top level, board level people who do it. The second and the third level of your board members take this managing risk. So when the risks have already been taken by the visionaries, the second bit is to manage whatever fallouts are going to be. And that's why we have a team where we can manage the risk. The risk taking is essential. What I'm trying to say is, yes, it's a sword, but you have to take it, because otherwise entrepreneurship does not sustain. We cannot simply do a business if we are not willing to take risks. It is difficult to manage. How do we manage that risk? If we have a great team, if we have a a certain level of understanding of a business, if we understand our team better, how do we motivate people? There are a few points which I mentioned about how we gel up and make the team go that extra yard. And for that to do, you have to take that initiative, regardless, because we know that risks are going to be taken and the businesses have to do them all the time. But your immediate members of your team and your workers, all of them have to support you in that. And as a leader or an entrepreneur, that is something which we need to do all the time. Straight answer to that is, it's a double-edged sword, yes, but it's a sword nonetheless. What I mean is, it's going to give you a result, either positive or negative. It's going to give you the result. It's be a chop, and whether it's as you said, it can be positive or negative, and you have to take it. If it is successful, great. If it's not successful, you take the lessons out of it and move on to the next one. And then,
sorry, Prabhu. Sorry to interrupt. Gomati, out of the 10 questions which are posed, you have got 7 questions. And just looking at your questions, you look quite impressive. You look like a businesswoman already. Would you like to share your experiences, Gomati? Is Gomati still there?
I have promoted Gomati into as a panelist, so she can join.
I think that's an excellent idea.
Yeah.
Perhaps Gomati could start telling a little bit more about her, so we can understand a little bit more about her.
I'm not a businesswoman at all. I'm a very poor, ordinary doctor. And I'm just trying to apply what Prabhu has said, which means Prabhu did a fantastic presentation, I have to say. But I quite like the way he approached the whole subject. And I was just wondering, change is one thing that happens everywhere, whether it's business or any type of business. I just wanted to understand your views on static versus dynamic change and how you approach that change. And the biggest jigsaw that I never understood was, how organizational change travels through team change to employee or to the last person in the organization that has to change to make that effect. And one biggest example, because I love Earth as well, and this reusable, recyclable cup, with Starbucks, you did a fantastic job there. And I never understood how the franchises works between the licensed store of Starbucks versus McDonald's, and how that Starbucks reusable, recyclable cup challenge never left the floor for many, many years. And this is one big thing. And I kind of compare organizational change with the changes within the organization NHS that I work for. And I'm just trying to understand to see how reflectable, translatable it is. And I'm really thank you for making me think about it, really. And I would really welcome to hear your views. And maybe an entrepreneur someday, but not yet.
Gumti, I'm sure. I mean, the idea is to seed something there, isn't it? Thank you for your lovely thoughts. And I think some of the questions you have posed are really in the realms of management, to be honest. And it's not so much the entrepreneurship there; it's more the management things you touched upon. One of the things you asked about was the static changes and the dynamic ones. To understand a static change and a dynamic change, there's an oxymoron when we say a static change, because stasis is no change, but then we say change in a static enterprise or in a static environment. When we say static change, what we really mean there is the microcosms of change, or we not change at all because we're already doing well. So that is the jigsaw many companies go through. Many of us go through in our lives. Why change when it is not, problematic? I'm driving a fantastic car. Why should I change to an electric vehicle? Why should I change to a different shirt when I have a very well, neatly pressed, beautiful white shirt? Why should I go for another white shirt? The same white color. Why would I want to have another white? But if we look at the nuances, the finer nuances of static change or being where we are, it is helpful for only certain industries to do that. If we go by the traditional methods or traditional modes of operation of certain businesses, those businesses tend to concentrate on their USPs, and that USPs may be classics. So they may be dealing with something relics in relic forms or in aspects which are given importance to previous centuries or years. There are businesses such as that. You will know auctioneering teams, people who dwell on cars or vintage cars. They tend to thrive very well on static change or on where they are. Also, static changes help in certain environments. So for instance, if you have a robotic process of a certain construction or a make, we do not want dynamism to come into there. It's not good, because there is a process, and that process has to be repetitively done. And that is how it's going to get the target numbers done. So you don't introduce a change there when the processes are happening properly. So when the processes are doing very well in an organization, you don't want to go there and change for the sake of change. So that is the distinction which our middle managers should do. It's the task of the middle managers to understand static changes and whether to change or not. The hierarchical method or how an organization is always built, like a pyramid structure. If you look at the directors, they have to be dynamically changing. They need to do that. So if I were to answer your question in one sentence, the dynamism and the changes, broad-based change, should always happen from the top. The middle and the lower ground of managers should make sure that those changes which the directors think of and they want to do is dwindled into certain smaller bits and then made it into a small level of changes in their organization. You cannot get drastic changes. That's not good for any organization. That will be, so what we call is incremental change. The incremental change is almost equivalent to what we call as dynamic change. So the static change is a start, then you go on to become making it incrementally changing it. And then once we get the incremental changes happening, and that becomes an inculcated process in the organization, that yes, changes are going to happen. We welcome change, and that change is going to be something which is going to happen, and we have to accept that for the good of the organization. Then that becomes a dynamic process of the whole entity. Now, how frequent or how dynamic they are, that is for the team and for that business to decide. But what I'm trying to say is it's a difficult topic to approach if you're looking at from a purely a yes or no answer. It's frequently not. It's going to be small incremental changes driving these small changes and making the organization sustain, where the bigger dynamic changes are happening in the top. Am I making sense?
You are. And the biggest confusion I have is when with these big chains as well, they all started somewhere, like the Starbucks starting in Seattle in some coffee bean shop, really, and making that and same as the KFC or whatever. But my biggest question is how do these business models differ in terms of the two types, the franchise and the licensed one? How do they they're completely two opposite sides, but how is your success determined in those kind of two opposite views?
I'll give you easy. I think when you look at if you're looking at the businesses keenly, there are many models, and one of the franchisee models is basically because I have my strengths and I know my strengths. So let's say I am going to start a food chain. My idea is I know how to make food. And my food processing is great. I know how to make that bread. I know how to put the burger on, and I can sell it. I know that much I'm very good at. I have had 20 years of experience, 30 years of experience. I've got this well under my control. Now I know that I can open up 5 stores. My name, I'm going to invest. The step 2 comes is, am I losing my USP? And that is my idea of making the bread and how good am I at it? And if I'm not really running the stores very well, I don't think I am very good at it. I think I may be overstretching my resources. I'm not getting enough money for the amount of effort I'm doing opening the stores. It's not really making my business work well for me. When that question comes through into our minds, then I think it's important for us to understand, will somebody be able to help me here? And that is where the franchisee model started to come. So basically, they are people who will act as moderators or platform to promote my product in the last bit of the chain. So when we look at the whole chain of the businesses, the last bit of the chain is basically to get the product, heat it up, give it to the customer. For that, I will give my quality assurances, which you guys have to accept and formulate upon, and we agree upon, because at the end of the day, you are selling my product, and I want certain things to be done in that building. You have to clear that all, and you will make a margin of profit over that. But you will not have any input, or rather nothing at all. I want zero input from you, from a franchisee, to myself, because I know my product. You are going to just sell my stuff. So it's, in a way, a franchise model is like distributors' market, where they basically take your product and market them. Now, if you contrast that to an organization like, let's say, Apple, it's a very, we all know Apple. They do not like franchising model. Their idea is, they think that even that last 10% dilutes them. They think that their model is to be A to Z, it's theirs. Every bit of that process has to have a stamp of Apple Inc. They do not like anybody promoting their product. They do not like anybody giving them ideas. What they tend to do is, of course, they for instance, they have a few collaborators, but even then, that collaborators are hidden from public view. You'd never come across who they are interacting. They will never tell it out open. In any of your Apple meetings or in this shareholding or stakeholder market, even there it is not divulged. Only the topmost people or on the hierarchy know what are the dealings they do. Here you will see that franchisee model is not something they don't want to do it. And in India they have done it, but I don't know how far they're successful in it. But their idea is not to have the franchise model. Success or not successful is not really dependent on whether you are going to be a franchisee model or not. What it really means for that business. As I said, Apple thinks that they can do A to Z. So they want to just do their way. Whereas McDonald's, because of their sheer size and the market they deal with, a perishable good, Apple phones or Apple things are non-perishable. They are, at the end of the day, can wait for months, years along. But for a market like food or produce of food, they tend to be more of a fast-running business, and that's pretty dynamic in a state. And you need help, and that's why franchisee comes. So if you look at the businesses where the franchises work well, is when the markets are extremely fast. There the franchise model helps. Amazon is a classic example of a franchise gone berserk, a model which is like extraordinarily gone berserk. Though we can always argue reverse franchise, but in any case, it is a franchise model.
That's excellent answer for that. I'm sure Gomati would have had her answers if Gomati is satisfied with those things. Prabhu, would you be available for anybody to contact you?
Oh yes, please. Yeah, of course. I'd be glad to do that. Not at all.
Okay, excellent. That's really good, actually. I've got 3 more questions, Prabhu. I'm not sure how much time we have. So the next question is this: we did touch upon to sustain business on a long term, only 10 to 15%. I think you quoted businesses do survive long term. So anonymous person has asked the question: what are the traits and characteristics of a person or a company that will take them to that level past 2-3 years and make them keep going? And how do they interact with other companies to make more success partnerships?
I think there's several bits in that question. If we look at how do we address to be among that 15% and not be among the 85% which drops off. The entrepreneurship definition itself is changing, or how we view businesses is changing. Businesses are just not profiteering houses. That has changed a little bit. Not too much, but to be a successful business, you need to have profit. There are non-profit organizations which they say they are entrepreneurial as well. You see? So profit is to make a business run, but that is not the end game. There are corporate social responsibilities which has taken big effect in the last 2 decades. Everybody wants to do something for the society. Every big business house, you may question it, you may not like the way they do it, but they yet do it, and that is welcome. What I'm trying to say here is, if you want to measure your business purely through profiteering, or a simple yes successful or no failure, it is not as simple as that is. Profiteering is good, but profit has to have a meaning. Profit has to be understood. So everybody has to understand what is profit, what as a director I'm taking as profit. So you will see most of the businesses will have a spreadsheet of saying what the directors take. That transparency needs to be there. When we all are transparent, and when you drive that the transparency across your business, you are more likely to succeed in the current environment. The businesses which tend to be less transparent in their activities are not liked by a lot of people. So you lose credibility, because people look at businesses as credible organizations. It's gone are the days when you just give something and people will buy. So if I want to make my organization credible, I need to be transparent, I need to be responsible, I need to make sure that what I deliver is of a sustainable nature. So what produce we do is at least environmentally neutral, and we are conscious of what's going on in the society. I cannot just think about my profit angle alone. So if we can look at those aspects in today's ever-changing, fast-changing business areas, I think we will be more successful in those. So transparency is important. Embracing change is important. That's what I feel are 2 key elements to make our businesses not fail.
Excellent, Prabhu. There are some more questions. So you have very good knack of explaining like to a kid very, very clearly. And for me, that is working. But we are running short of time now. So we've got 3 more questions I think we have. Our admin Kavi is asking, in brief, if you don't mind, how do you manage things when they don't go very well?
This is every day it happens to me. So it's not something that I think, like everybody else, to be honest. You have to have a thick skin. You have to laugh it off at the first instance. That's what I do. Any big problems, I just laugh it off. I say, okay, that can be fine. We can look at it. But that's only for a few seconds. You do that. Right after that, you sit down, and you, for one, question yourself, what could you have done differently? Or have I not followed something to the process which we intended to set in the first place? Are we following that or not? These are the 2 or 3 questions I genuinely ask myself. If I find the answer myself, then that's good, well and good. If not, I tend to put that question into my team and see, this is the problem we have. What do you guys think about this? And then try and get an answer and try and work for it. That is how I have looked at my everyday kind of stuff. It is constant. There is no way we are going to have a business running where you have answers for everything. It's not. I mean, anybody will know, for that matter, wherever, in whichever profession you are, that's not going to be happening. And same is the case with business, just that it is 10 or 100 times more, because every day there's a new challenge. It comes from the later part of your chain, or from the very front end of your chain, that's your proximal chain, or from the very farthest. It just comes on you. If you are listed as in a company, in exchanges, in stock exchanges, it is more. You will figure out very quickly how rapid the changes are, or rather questions and problems which comes up. But to understand it, to take that decision, is innately that chief executive's biggest task. A CEO or an officer on the director board is simply there to precisely deal with the question you have just posed. What do we do on everyday kind of issues we have, and how do we address that? People, honestly, I mean, I hope, I'm just going to tell, maybe people won't like it. What Jeff Bezos or what Elon Musk you see in social media or in the television platforms is not what they are in reality. Any business person will understand what they show and what they are in their back office are 2 very different things. Every day they are bombarded with issues, with money issues, with managerial problems, with suits or legal issues. There's so many they have to do. You have to pity them. But they yet are going on to do something new, not just to make profit, but to change. So if we understand that process, you will get an answer in a way that you have to question a lot of times yourself when a problem arises.
Perfect. That's great. Rupa is asking a question. Are you a clinician? Are you an entrepreneur?
I would say both. I'll just go just a minute about how it drove to where I am. See, I was a medic. I did my MD medicine back in India, and I always liked the generality of medicine. You have so many different things, and that's why when I came to the UK, I chose general practice. It was more a variety. In that, you also learn to manage things. You want to feel a control of some things where you can, and that's what my personality was, and probably still is, though I have changed a bit over the last decade. That controlling bit, it slowly gives way to team building exercise, and that's a process. Some people learn it quicker, some people take a little bit of time. It has to work in an even Stevens way, because you have to control some things and you have to give way for others to interact as well. Only then you should know when to take control and when to not, if you know what I'm saying. That is what is going to determine our success in an organization. Clinician, doctors, when I did my MBA, this question was asked to me by my university lecturers. You are a doctor. Why do you, what is it you are going to gain through an MBA? I did an executive MBA in Glasgow. That question was put to me the very first few weeks. The answer was difficult for me at that time, but I had something in my mind where I thought understanding the nuances of administration will help me manage myself and my team. If I were to take a practice over, or if I were to join a director of some company. So that is what set me out to do the MBA. And once I did the MBA, I figured out that there are so many nuances to how you manage a team and how you build relationships and how you bridge teams together, because that's something very difficult. One of my limited companies, which is the management company we have, is precisely for that, because two trusts don't talk to each other. We make those trusts to talk. So the answer is, I am a clinician who is interested in the administration of proper business standards. I think I'm making it too complicated. Let me put it this way. I would say make it an efficient model so that we don't lose too much through unnecessary tasks. For that, my MBA helped, and having an entrepreneurial spirit helps.
Excellent. I think we have one more question, but now we are running quite late now. It's 10:50. Prabhu, that was excellent. Actually, your just personality and the way you speak and deliver and understand what people are asking you is really commendable. I think you will be a very, very good mentor. I'm sure you have mentored many, many people, but there are some more to come from Leicester and far afield, I guess, from both sides of the pond, if you like. So Prabhu has kindly agreed to be available for any questions people have. Sridhar and Lena had one question, but unfortunately we can't answer that question right now. But I guess Prabhu might be able to answer that a little later. So on behalf of RISE, can I thank Prabhu immensely for what he's done and what he's doing for the community, and providing skills to so many people and trying to help the community by his business. So I thank you very, very much, Prabhu, for that.
Oh, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much, Srini, and you've been a generous host, giving me so much of accolades, which I don't deserve, I think. But I will take it because you're going to give me generously. It's really great to be a participant here and to meet you all, guys. I wish the RISE Foundation many, many successes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.
You want to come and take this? Yes. No, they're playing a video. Hi everyone, welcome to our talk about rush hour recipes. So we're going to be talking about some quick and simple recipes that we really enjoy, and it's going to involve some live commentary and some pre-recorded videos as well. So my name's Sheena, I'm 18 years old, I just finished my A-levels and hopefully I'm going to be doing medicine at the University of Manchester in September.
I'm Sweita, I'm 20 and I've just finished my second year at uni at the University of Leicester and I do neuroscience.
I'm Bria, I'm 16, I've just finished my GCSEs and I'm going into A-levels next year. Thank you, RISE Foundation, for giving us the opportunity to speak at the second annual RISE 24-hour webinar.
RISE is a charity organisation based in Leicestershire that aims to support the local community and the international community for a variety of causes towards education and healthcare.
Please donate on the Just Giving page if you can. It's all going towards a great cause. So before we get into the cooking, we'd like you to imagine this. It's Friday evening. You've just come back from an exhausting day at school or uni or work, and you just want to kick back and relax. However, there is an issue. You are hungry, and there's no food readily available. The trek to the kitchen seems way too tiring, and the easiest option is to pick up your phone and open Deliveroo. Before you know it, the convenience of this option becomes routine, and you haven't eaten a home-cooked meal in weeks. Without any real knowledge of what restaurants put into their food, you can never be sure of whether the food you're eating is really beneficial in the long run. Is it really nourishing your body and giving it everything it needs after an exhausting day? Probably not. There are plenty of quick, convenient dishes you can cook at home and avoid extra costs and detrimental health effects.
So cooking home food is definitely much cheaper in the long run, whether you get ingredients locally sourced or whether you go to the supermarket. It's always going to be better than eating out. And the phrase, "you are what you eat," it shouldn't be underestimated because it holds a lot of truth. Of course, grabbing a takeaway or eating at a restaurant once in a while, it's not going to be detrimental to your health, but if it does become routine, you're going to be wasting a lot of money and you don't know what kind of health effects it will also have, however cheap that McDonald's or meal deal seems. As well as this, cooking is basically an essential life skill, and it can be enjoyable if you learn it well. Cooking a meal for your family, for your friends, being able to feed yourself, doing it for fun, it's so important, and I think the pandemic really illustrated that.
So also, it's generally healthier, and you can adapt the recipes to your own liking, as well as any dietary requirements. So you can adjust spice levels, you can adjust things according to your allergies, and also depending on whether you're vegetarian or vegan. As healthy as your order may seem, you really don't know what they're putting into it, whereas when you're cooked, you're completely in control. I'm sure all of us have suffered from a stomach bug from eating out at one point, and we've never known which meal caused that. By cooking at home, you don't have to worry about the hygiene and the handling of ingredients at restaurants, and like we said, you're completely in control.
Cooking at home can also be social and really fun. You can cook with friends and family and bond through a shared meal. Usually, the three of us, we always cook something whenever we hang out together. It never takes that long, and it's always enjoyable. The whole process of buying ingredients, cooking, and even the mishaps makes the food taste all that better, usually. And it's a really precious memory in the end. Before you know it, you really start to enjoy cooking and you've learned a new skill as well. So we've put together a collection of our favorite quick and delicious recipes, including cuisines from across the world that we've cooked together. And we hope that there'll be something for everybody to enjoy and maybe try out.
So our first recipe is probably our simplest recipe because it only requires 3 ingredients, which are bananas, preferably ripe, eggs, and flour. It's delicious, healthy, and it's completely customizable. You can pretty much top the pancakes with whatever you prefer. Like, we've listed a bunch of toppings, but you can literally put anything on it. And for convenience, you can make a pretty big batch of the batter and just store it in the fridge. So if you're ever craving a snack or you need something quick and nutritious in the morning, you can just get out of the fridge and make it. And it will be so much better than a bowl of cereal or even like store-bought pancakes or store-bought pancake mix, and you'll feel really rewarded in the end. So without further ado, here is the video.
First, mash 2 ripe medium-sized bananas into a bowl. into the mushed bananas. Then add 4 tablespoons of flour, and you may need more depending on the amount of bananas you use. First, turn on the heat and add some butter to the pan. Add the batter in a circular motion. Wait until they're golden brown, and you can make how many other pancakes you want and stack them up. Once they're ready, add whatever toppings you would like. Okay, so we have our taste testers. We've got Richa and Ryan with us. Hi, guys. Hi. Okay, so how did the pancakes look?
It looks like a burger patty.
Okay.
Banana pancakes. That one's got fresh cream, honey, and strawberries on, and that one's got Nutella, bananas, and peanut butter on. So it gives you basically mashed together today. Okay, Ryan.
Peanut butter makes it chewy. Okay.
But how's the taste of the actual pancake?
Good.
Okay, cool. How about you, Richard? Everything.
Aww.
Yay!
Success! Success! No, I just dropped shit! Guys, oh my god!
It looks horrendous. I'm sorry. It looks horrendous.
Have you seen what it looks like in the camera?
It out so
You can't even see the pancakes. It looks like a birthday cake from here.
Does that look better?
No!
That looks better in the camera. That's what happens.
Drizzle it, show that drizzle it. Here we go again. And your hair's gonna get in the pancake.
You're a pancake.
And that's the finished product.
Fast.
Okay, so let's talk about those bloopers. I think this was probably the most memorable thing for us to make because
Yeah.
so many things went wrong, but it actually turned out okay-ish.
It was the first one and we had kind of high expectations.
Yeah.
And getting warmed up. Yeah, when we were getting warmed up, we didn't have ripe bananas, so it took about 15 minutes to mash them. And my weak arm strength did not help. And then, yeah, I dropped shell in. It just wasn't going great.
And to be honest, like the first pancakes, like we made,
we didn't show them. They burnt.
So we kind of refilmed. So what you see as the first was not the first attempt.
Yeah. And then, of course, we have Sheena's interesting toppings that she made herself.
I had a grand vision.
She had a vision. She just did not execute it very well. And it's okay.
And the fact that she didn't even think it was that bad. We behind the camera suffered.
It's a lot like her birthday cake, but it's okay. Because it tasted decent.
Yeah. And that's all that matters.
Yeah. And it looked okay.
Okay. So moving on to our oven-baked one-pot paneer. So our next recipe is an oven-baked version of a classic Indian dish, matar paneer. It's beginner-friendly and simply makes use of an oven and a pot. You can adjust the amount of spices and other ingredients. For example, you can switch out paneer for tofu, and you can even change the vegetables, and the taste will still be good. Indian cooking often seems daunting because of the sheer variety of spices. We can never get the salt levels right, and every dish never fails to make us cry because they all involve chopping onions. But this recipe is literally so foolproof that we nailed it on our first go, and even got our parents' seal of approval. So keep watching to find out how to make it.
Before starting, preheat the oven to 200 degrees Celsius. Slice the paneer out if you don't have pre-sliced paneer. Then add chopped red onions and add them to a roll-through container. Also add garlic and ginger, as well as 200 grams of tomatoes. Then you can add the spices: turmeric, cumin, coriander, red chili powder, garam masala, salt, pepper, and avocado oil. Mushrooms along with frozen peas. Then mix everything together with your hands or with a spatula. Now pop it in the oven for 20 to 30 minutes. Add in fresh cream and stir it thoroughly. Put it back in the oven for another 5 to 7 minutes. Okay, so now we have both the Ammakal taste test the paneer. So say hi. 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 Okay, are you excited to try your Indian daughter's first time cooking Indian food? Wow, really excited. Absolutely. Okay, well, begin. Yeah. Tell us your honest opinions. What does that look mean?
Absolutely brilliant. I think it's better than my cooking. Yeah. I love it. I can eat it every day. Absolutely lovely.
The spices are very mild.
the onion is not overcooked or undercooked. I can just feel it crunchy in my mouth. So it's really good.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant.
It's really good.
Yeah.
Well done, girls.
Thank you.
So despite the positive feedback, I think unanimously, we distributed some paneer to friends as well. We didn't add enough salt. Everyone said there wasn't enough salt, and our mums were nice enough to not mention that, but there wasn't enough salt. Yeah, I think salt is something that's pretty hard to nail, for us anyway.
To be honest, it felt like we added a lot. Like what you saw in the video, plus we added more. But...
And we did add more, yeah, but it just wasn't enough. So we've not nailed it.
It tastes
we did it.
Yeah,
it's meant to be mild.
So
It's meant to be mild. Yeah.
Foolproof.
Yeah. So yeah, it's quite simple, and like you can't go wrong with like the onions. Like you can't burn them like you would if you did it on a pan. So
yeah, because you're just putting everything in one dish and then oven baking. That's it. You don't have to worry about the ingredients separately.
And salt is subjective, so it's very beginner friendly, essentially.
So for our next dish, we're venturing into Oriental cuisine. You might not have these ingredients on hand and will probably have to pop to your local Asian or Oriental supermarket. Tteokbokki, or spicy rice cakes, is a very popular South Korean street food. If you haven't heard of it before, it's best described as chewy, thick noodles made out of rice flour, coated in a spicy and sweet sauce, and this sauce is made using gochujang, or Korean hot pepper paste. The best thing about it, aside from its addictive taste, is the versatility. You can add a variety of condiments to it, such as vegetables, boiled eggs, sausage, or even cheese. And in our version, we opted for noodles, fried dumplings, cheese, and spring onions, which I know it sounds like a lot, but it all works really well together. We once tried it at a restaurant and we decided to make it at home from then onwards. And it then became our personal favorite. And I think we've definitely saved a lot of money making it ourselves. And now we make it almost every time we hang out. Not only is it delicious, but it's also really good to share with your friends out of one big pot. And the preparation time is really quick. So here's how to make it.
Just from the admin office here, can you, when you share, do you just click video optimization? Because the video otherwise plays very, very jerky.
Is it this one?
So when you click share, there will be an option to say optimize.
Yep, we've clicked it.
Add 4 tablespoons of gochujang chili paste to a saucepan. To that, add 2 tablespoons of sugar. Next, add 2 tablespoons of Korean chili powder. Add a pinch of salt and 2 tablespoons of soy sauce. Next, add 400 milliliters of a stock prepared using kelp and dried shiitake mushrooms. You could easily substitute this for plain water. Stir this all until it dissolves. Turn on the stove to a low heat and bring to a boil. Once the sauce starts to boil, add the rice cakes and mix. tteokbokki is essentially done, but afterwards, if you'd like to, you can add in some extra noodles and dumplings or whatever you'd like. We're going to add a mixture of cheddar and mozzarella cheese onto the tteokbokki and also some spring onions to garnish. Place a lid over the cheesy part so that it melts and allow to cook for 2 more minutes. So here we have our 2 taste testers, Sheena and my mummy, and they're going to be taste testing their tteokbokki. Okay, Chiti, have you had Korean food before?
No.
Is this your
I've seen these things, dumplings.
The dumplings, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so first, do you want to try one of the rice cakes? That's the staple item of the dish. So it's made out of rice flour. I've got some cabbage on there as well.
Oh, which one is cabbage?
You took it off. Okay. Yep, there you go. You nervous?
Yes, I am.
Hey,
I hope I'll be okay after tasting this. It's nice. It's very different. Not, nothing like I have ever tasted before.
Is it the texture?
Yeah, the texture is, it's quite chewy in consistency, but you've spiced it up well, so, I can taste the, the heat and everything is in perfect order. So, yeah. And how long did you take to cook?
20 minutes?
20 minutes. Yeah. That's good.
Success.
It's nice, yeah.
Success.
So this is tteokbokki is probably Sheena's specialty because she's made it so many times for us and with her other friends. And yeah, we made it when we were really exhausted. It was like pretty late at this point.
Yeah.
And yeah, it tasted really good. It was probably our best dish.
Yeah. And we made way too much, and so we had some the next day, and it definitely tastes better when you reheat it the next day.
Yeah.
We'll be making it a lot more in the future as well. We make it every single time.
We've made it every single time we've met.
And every single time it tastes good. So
yeah, exactly.
Like it looks really difficult, but actually
it's easy.
It's just that the ingredients are some things we don't typically have, so it looks
Not
harder than
familiar
it
with.
actually is.
You gotta search the ingredients a bit, but once you've got them, you're fine.
Yeah. So now we're venturing into Italian cuisine. I'm sure everyone has heard of or uses TikTok. It's heavily influential and it shapes all the current trends in food, fashion, and media. This pasta dish went viral on TikTok, and rightfully so, because it's literally so tasty. Known as the Gigi Hadid pasta, as it was famously eaten and recommended by the supermodel herself. The original recipe contains vodka, which we have omitted just to make it family friendly, and so that it can be enjoyed by all. It's really quick and the cooking process is super simple. Everyone most probably has all the ingredients at home, and the simplicity of the ingredients is probably one of the reasons for its virality. You could improve the health benefits of this dish by using healthier kinds of pasta or substituting the cheese for like a plant-based cheese or something if you wanted to do that. So without further ado, let's see how to make the pasta.
First, add 1.5 tablespoons of olive oil to a pan. Then add half a tablespoon of minced garlic and a quarter of an onion. Then add half a teaspoon of chili flakes and red chili powder.
Add 2 tablespoons of tomato paste.
Stir this for 2 to 3 minutes on medium flame. Add salt to taste. Add 1/4 cup of heavy cream. Add 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper and sugar.
Then add 2 tablespoons of pasta water.
Finally, add 50 grams of pasta. Add half a tablespoon of butter and also cheese if you want to.
Okay, so for our final dish, we've got 2 new taste testers, Ria and Shweta. Say hi, guys.
Hello.
Hi. Okay, are you excited to try the pasta?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, let me garnish it with a puzzle for you. Okay. Let me re-garnish that. Okay, thanks for that, Shweta. Thanks for your contribution. Now, would you like to dig in?
That's good actually.
Why are you shocked?
Yeah, it does taste nice. Like it was pretty quick, but it tastes.
It's spicy.
Describe the flavor to us.
It's at first it's not spicy, but it kind of gets spicier as you chew.
Yeah, you kind of taste the cheese, and then you taste the spice.
I see. It sounds nice. Can I have some?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's all.
Bye.
Was this a success?
Success.
Okay, so Ria, why were you surprised? Do you
really-
doubt our cooking skills?
That, and also I did not think it would taste good because we burnt it a bit slightly. It was just so simple that we thought would probably mess it up. Like
Plus because it's so quick and we had to film as well, like we were kind of tight on time and
but it turned out really well. Like it's really good.
Especially
We
for
should definitely
the
try it.
last dish of the day.
Yeah.
After ages spent cooking it was
It was definitely worth it. It was a good dish and yeah. So thank you for watching and we hope that you will try some of these dishes. And yeah.
Please remember to donate to RISE Foundation on the Just Giving page if you can.
And if there's any questions, we'll be happy to answer. Thank you.
Okay. So the first question is, why did you choose to use avocado oil and can we use normal oil or will it compromise the taste? Well, from what we researched, avocado oil is actually better when you bake things for some reason. I'm not exactly sure.
It's really good for when you're cooking on high heat. It's a good oil for high heat cooking. So that's why we used it, but I'm sure you can substitute it for a normal oil.
It won't make a huge difference. Yeah. That's all the questions.
There was something else there. Any eggless option for pancake? We didn't find a recipe, but I'm sure there is one.
Yeah,
I've seen some somewhere, but we
There
just
has to
didn't. Girls, how many calories?
We didn't really count, but
recording used up so many calories. So if you have a busy day, you'll burn it off. Surely.
And plus, it's like fun to bake with other people, so get more benefits.
Milk. I think for the pancake mixture, if it's a bit too dry, you can just add in milk, and the milk doesn't have to be dairy milk. It can be any milk, and yeah.
So how long did it take us to make each of the milk meals? Sorry.
Okay, it's called rush hour cooking, but maybe like all in all, it took us about 7 hours to make all of this together.
But that was with the filming.
Yeah.
So with the filming, it took a very long time. But I think,
shockingly enough, the pancakes took us the longest, even though they only had 3 ingredients.
Yeah, the pasta was the quickest.
Yeah,
and the
definitely.
paneer had a high baking time, but like the
prep
preparation was
wasn't
quick. So.
And that too, if you're baking it, you can do other things while it's baking. You don't have to check on it constantly. So
yeah, you can make that and then another one of the dishes at the same time.
Which is the best dish?
The best dish, probably not the pancakes.
I really like the pancakes, but I just really like bananas. So
yeah,
not the pancakes.
Not the
no.
pancakes. We personally like the paneer a lot. Like we didn't mind the low salt levels.
We thought the salt was fine for us. Maybe it's just everyone else eats too much salt. But the tteokbokki is always good.
Yeah.
Kind of pros it now. Yeah.
True.
Any other questions?
I think.
Oh, we've got a question there. Prem Uncle wants to know the healthiest one.
Wouldn't it be the pancakes?
I think it's the pancakes because it's got bananas
and all that else it has
eggs.
is like
It's
flour
like
and
80% banana.
And then it's got egg,
and then
which is protein.
Depending on what toppings you use.
The paneer could be tasty. Like if you don't mind eating paneer, that's really healthy. But you could substitute that for tofu. The original recipe was a vegan recipe.
And the heavy cream can be substituted for like this cashew cream. It's vegan and
yeah,
there are plenty of.
And it doesn't take long to make.
Yeah, it might be that one. And turmeric has good health benefits and just.
Yeah, exactly.
Which you added too much of.
I didn't know it's probably the unhealthiest.
Yeah.
But it's like a guilty pleasure.
Guilty pleasure.
Yeah.
It's like street food, but it's slightly healthier because you're making it.
Yeah.
But I'd say the paneer is the healthiest.
I think so too.
Any more questions? He wants to know whether he'll get it for breakfast tomorrow. We recorded these on Tuesday, so unfortunately we don't have any leftovers.
Yeah.
Maybe.
But we encourage you to try making it yourself.
Yeah. We can send anybody the recipes if they want it.
Yeah, and send us pictures of how it goes. We'll be curious.
Yeah. So I think that's pretty much the end of our session. Yeah. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Paul, over to you.
Hello guys, I hope we're all having fun at the RISE-24 webinar. Firstly, I'd like to thank all the people who've already taken part. All the talks have been really fun and enjoyable to watch. Quickly before we start, just want to say 75% of our donation has been reached. Let's try and smash that today and see if we can get much more. Today, I'm going to be presenting a few of the boys, specifically Daniel and Harish, who will be presenting their social media topic. And then Aravind, who is moderating with me, will be doing Rahul, Siva, and Fazad, wherever he is. Quickly, so I just want to have a quick chat about Harish. So Harish loves tech. He's very interested in all his software and his design. And actually he has high aspirations to be a software developer. So he's very well experienced to talk on this topic. And then the other person is Daniel, who some of you might know as my brother. We're actually just 5 meters away recording this. I'm in my room, he's in his room. So if not, I can embarrass him. So Daniel, he's going to be talking as well, and his interests are in social media as well. And specifically, he has a big interest because he started his own social media account. He has a TikTok, which has over 125,000 followers. So Daniel, I'm excited to hear from you as well. Even as a big brother, I won't admit it, but I'm excited to see your advice, see what I can learn from you. So guys, over to you, and show us what you got.
Thanks for that intro, Paul. And oh wait, Harish, share your screen. Okay, so as you know, today we're going to be talking about social media, and it plays a huge part in our lives. Without it today, there wouldn't even be a RISE webinar, I don't think. So yeah, especially in the past year, it's played a massive part as we've both been using it for school and work, and we use this social media continuously every day, and we use it for a wide range of activities, ranging from texting our friends to buying a product online. And it's even become so powerful nowadays that we even use it to make a living from it. So Harish is now going to be talking about the examples of social media, and yeah.
Harish, I think you're on mute. If you just like to unmute yourself. There you go. If you want to start over again.
All right, really sorry about that. As you see, these are the different, as you see, these logos look familiar to you. These are the examples of social media platforms. And the social media platforms we have here are TikTok, Instagram, Reddit, YouTube, Twitter, WhatsApp, Snapchat, Facebook, and Pinterest. As you see, Facebook is the currently most used social media platform of 2021, but TikTok is becoming the most popular and trending of 2021, as lots of people have started to use it.
Right, so now onto the pros of social media. As I said in the beginning, there are many pros. One of the biggest ones is that we can communicate with people all around the world, especially in the pandemic, as I said, communicating with your friends and families abroad. Another one is education, and then another one is advertising. So Harish is now going to go into more in-depth about these pros of social media.
You would see that people would use social media to communicate with people. So say, for example, a student moves to a new school, they meet a new person, start to make friends with them. If they don't have their number, they would use any social media platform they have to text them and try and get in touch with them. And that way their friendship would start to build. Another way of communication. Also, social media is also another way of communication. Instead of using normal messages, it would be used to communicate with friends. by not just communicating with friends, you could also use social media to connect and communicate with people worldwide. This would benefit you. This would benefit you if you were employed into a company worldwide. Right.
Right
Hello?
now, advertising. So social media can be used to advertise, as we've done today for the RISE-24 webinar. We've advertised on WhatsApp group chats, many, I know, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and like, I don't think as many people would have even turned up for this webinar if we didn't advertise. So one of the great things about social media now is that the advertising platforms are becoming so powerful that you can specify who you want to display your ads to. So for example, with this webinar, on TikTok and Instagram, you have hashtags. So I used hashtags webinar, hashtag charity, and this narrows down the niche. So you know you're targeting people who actually want to watch your content. Also, social media can be used to advertise for the COVID vaccine and health. So I know many GPs and doctors who have encouraged people to take the vaccine by telling them on social media, like WhatsApp group chats. And this has a huge benefit on the world as people are getting vaccinated. Oh, and also now, obviously, we've talked about the pros of social media, but as with anything, there's also going to be cons. So I think one of the main ones is definitely the lack of face-to-face communication. So I think especially in the pandemic, I know many people who struggled with that lack of face-to-face communication. I myself am one. I found it really tedious talking to my mates online. It was just really boring. Yeah, another one is cyberbullying, which is also a really bad con of social media. So much harassment going out there. And then another con is also about people having their accounts on public, and then people can get hold of your information, and then some harassment and harmful things can be done. Harish is now going to explain more of these cons in a bit more depth.
Face-to-face communication. As you see, this is also another common one. So people that spend too much time on social media, they start to get too addicted to it. As it is, their face-to-face communication will decrease, and this will have a huge impact with their social interaction skills with other people, not just with friends, but this can also be when you're being employed and talking to employees and employers. Cyberbullying, not just people that get bullied physically and verbally in places, but people can also be bullied on social media, which is known as cyberbullying. Cyberbullying is another form of bullying, but which takes place online. And as you see there, there are some effects of cyberbullying. And the effects of cyberbullying are being tagged along in a horrible post with you in it, that if you didn't know that you were going to be tagged along in a post, a person messaging unkind things to you, not able to focus at school, so therefore you're not able to focus on your work and your revision for exams, and therefore this could be a huge distraction and anxiety. People posting explicit content. You would find on social media that people do post things, and it is common on social media, but there can also be some explicit content posted, and you would see this logo is familiar to you, because whenever you are like purchasing, if you are purchasing a product, you would see this logo on the product. And anything explicit that's posted, it can be deemed as inappropriate. Done.
Yeah, so we've missed a big pro and benefit of social media, and that is education. So now I'm going to share my own personal experience on how I've educated youngsters using TikTok. So for those of you who don't know, TikTok is this short form video app which you can upload short form videos. It started about a few years ago, and it started off as a dance kids app, but recently its use has moved to other genres. So like a few months ago, I realized that many people were educating people on TikTok. So I decided to hop onto this trend. So back in February 2021, I published a video of myself talking about taxes, income tax onto my profile. And to my surprise, it went viral and got over 2.7 million views. After rewatching the video, I realized why it went viral was because I was able to educate youngsters about such an important topic that they weren't aware about in less than 30 seconds. I also made it different to the standard type of content. So this refrained the audience from clicking off the video, and so it increased the watch time and therefore my views. I'm now going to show the video, but a disclaimer to the financial gurus out there. I made this video back in February, so before Rishi Sunak changed the tax bands, hence why I'm using last year's tax bands and not the current ones. Show the video.
Yo, I just got a raise. Now I'm going to be making £51,000 a year. Congrats, but doesn't that mean you're in the 40% tax band instead of the 20%? Yeah, but income tax is marginal, not flat. Wait, what does that mean? Just because my new income falls into the 40% tax band doesn't mean my entire salary will be taxed at that rate. Wait, so how does it work then? My 40% rate is only on every pound I earn above £50,000. Ah, I get it. So you'll be paying 20% on anything between 12.5k and 50k, and then 40% on anything above 50k. Yeah, so a raise is always a good thing.
Right, so using that video, I used what went well and then made videos around those kind of topics. And I did that pretty much every day, or I tried to be consistent. And using that, I've now gained over 120,000 followers. I think TikTok has been like a massive game changer for me, as it's improved my confidence massively, especially the organization skills too. It's opened up a new vision of work, as it's a different standard line of work. And it's also allowed me to connect with big brands and creators. So I've been able to do brand deals, and this has improved my negotiation skills massively. But I don't just talk about finance. I try to just teach teenagers and youngsters just generally about well-being and how they can level up their life. So I've got another video to show, and this one's about sleep.
Bro, I can't sleep. Got any tips? Use the 3-2-1 technique. Wait, what's that? 3 hours before sleep, no more food. 2 hours before sleep, no more work. And 1 hour before sleep, no more screen time. That should do the job. Wow, thanks. How did you learn this? Oh, I follow Dan Sandy on TikTok.
Anyways, that's me done now. So if you guys do have TikTok, please give me a follow. Thank you in advance. Anyways, Harsh.
Bro, I can't sleep.
Thank you for listening to our wonderful presentation. And I also want to thank RISE Foundation for organizing this event. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A, and also please donate generously. Thank you. Now I'm going to pass over to Rahul, who will be talking about games, video games, and YouTube. Over to you, Rahul.
Hopefully you can hear me. My name is Rahul Subramanian, and I'm going to be talking about the benefits of YouTube. Next slide, please. Thanks. We all know YouTube. It's an amazing place where you can watch movies, videos, and documentaries. YouTube has everything you can imagine, so it entertains everyone despite their age. On YouTube, you can learn new skills and hobbies, whether that's learning how to play the guitar through videos or learning how to cook new foods. The best thing about YouTube is that it's accessible all over the world and it's completely free to everyone. On YouTube, you can find anything you want, you desire, sorry. Next slide, please. As Daniel said, YouTube is a great place for education. YouTube has many revision resources to help you understand or learn a topic. The three I find most useful are free science lessons, Corbett Maths, and Cognito. These have all helped me throughout year 10 to learn maths and science, and will continue to do so in year 11 as well. Other YouTube channels teach science and maths, but use animation and fun ideas to make it more enjoyable. I recommend Film Theory, Mark Robert, and Kazergazat. These all teach you science and maths, but in a very fun way, so you can learn quicker. Furthermore, YouTube can educate and spread awareness to others about events and topics which are hard to explain or understand, such as the Israel and Palestine conflict which recently occurred, or World War II. YouTube is a great place to earn money in our society today. 3.3 billion people use YouTube, and over 800 million people watch at least one video a day. Therefore, a large audience can watch your videos if they are interesting, and you can gain a lot of money, confidence from your videos, and can gain fame. Making this money is made by sponsorships, merchandise or products, and offering services. Making videos on YouTube is also available for all ages. Thank you for listening. I would like to pass it on to Fazad.
Hopefully you all can hear me. Hi, my name is Fazad Ryan, and I'm going to be talking about the benefits of video games. Next slide, please. There are many plus points of playing video games. It's even proven that video games can help people build their social skills. As when you're playing a video game, you're most likely going to be talking to your friends or people around you. Gaming has been proven to improve people's problem-solving skills, as in a game, they'll be placed in tough situations where they need to adapt quickly and learn and try to solve their problem quickly so they can win the game or complete their mission. Gaming also improves people's concentration, as you sit there for a large period of time and you need to try not to think about anything else and focus on the game so you can play the best you can. At least 75% of people that play video games now have better concentration than they did before.
So Fazad, I know both you and me play tennis. Have you found that your skills from gaming have contributed or translated over to tennis?
Yes, I feel like gaming has helped in a way, as I'm able to concentrate for a long amount of time when I'm playing tennis. As in tennis, it is quite easy to get distracted. You can look over to the other court, look upstairs, see what people are doing. But no, because I like gaming, but playing for too long is bad. But because I play and I play for a good few hours, my concentration has improved. As in tennis, I'm able to focus on the ball and concentrate on going to hit the ball and aiming where I'm going to go hit next. Next slide, please. Also, video games massively improve your hand-eye coordination skills, as when you're playing a game, you want to be looking at a screen without looking at your controller. And when you play, a lot of people, once they start gaming, they get the hang of playing video games without looking at their controller. This improves your hand skills and your finger skills, which is great, especially if you want to be a medical surgeon. As in surgery, you would want agile and quick hands, which you will develop when you play video games. Thank you for listening. Now I'll be passing over to Siva.
Thanks, Fazad. Hello, everyone. I'm Siva, and today I'm going to be talking about not only the pros, but also the downsides of video games. I myself play a lot of video games, and I'm really passionate about them. So thanks for RISE for giving me the opportunity to talk about this topic. I forced myself to present this with an unbiased view and to be honest to not only you guys, but to be honest to myself as well. So let's move on. These are some pictures of what video games looked like 10 years ago. As you can see, they don't look great, with some games even being in 2D. Now, let's skip forward a decade. This is what they look like today. They look so much more realistic, and the graphics have improved massively. You might be shocked to hear these are all direct comparisons of the same game series, the only difference being the latter slide is showing video games in the past year. It almost looks like there's a difference of a century here, not just a decade. However, you may be against video games, but there is no denying that they've come so far over the past few years. They've developed exponentially, with controls becoming more fluid and graphics becoming mind-blowingly realistic. One of the main pros of video games for me, which I think is so cool, is that video games have a direct likeness to real-life activities, and they allow gamers to experience that. For example, recently I've bought a sim racing wheel, which is basically just a steering wheel that I can plug into my PlayStation. However, technology has improved so far, with only my wheel and a gaming console, I can experience what an F1 driver would in real life. On the top right of your screen, you can see Max Verstappen, who leads the Formula One Drivers' World Championship at the moment. He himself uses the F1 games in his free time as a simulator. So, to prove to you how developed video games actually are, there's a story I want to tell you. And this story is about one of the current F1 esports world champions called Jarno Opmeer. He's not only raced on video games, but in his earlier career, he's raced in real life, in karts, and he's gone all the way to Formula 3. For those of you who don't know, that's a feeder series in which drivers race to hope to make it to Formula 1. Oh, sorry. He's turned his visions to video games a few years back, and he's gone on to win the esports title, and he's gone on to state how realistic the video game is to his real-life experience in a racing car. Another genre of games used by professionals are flight simulators. Just under a year ago, the newest version of Microsoft Flight Simulator was released, which is said to be so realistic, actual trainee pilots have been using it. The two pictures towards the bottom of your screen are both taken from the game. The game is so realistic, every button you see in those two pictures are interactive. Every dial, every screen you see there actually works. In other words, the cockpit in the virtual world is basically the same as the one the real pilots use. Moving on, I've compiled just a few headlines about video games and social media and the potential benefits they can have. They go from Oxford Academic saying video games can benefit mental health to the statement playing a video game is more than just mere procrastination. I'll give you guys just a few seconds to read through them if you want. I feel the statement playing a video game is more than just mere procrastination is really impactful. The general consensus that video games are useless and just a way to kill time is outdated, and if anything, I reckon it's wrong. Video games have impacted a huge number of people's lives. 8 to 18-year-olds tend to play video games for approximately 15 hours a week. Between the ages of 2 and 17, over 91% of people have played or watched a video game. The gaming industry is so huge, it's estimated that there are over 2.9 billion gamers across the world. Now, with statistics that big, it would be foolish to believe that video games have no benefits. So let's just glance over some of the benefits of video games. We can see that they lead to improved cognitive functioning. Via gaming, we can see that decision-making skills are improved. There's increased cognitive flexibility in gamers, and they also report increased attentional resources. Not only this, but Oxford's study has stated that nearly 90% of people reported an increased sense of happiness and joy from playing video games. I quote from Oxford University's study, "The actual amount of time spent playing video games is small, but the positive factor in people's well-being is significant." That was the conclusion of their study. And it shows, even though you might only spend a small amount of time gaming, you might not even realize the impact it has on your life. I'd like to add a point here that slightly coincides with Rahul's point with YouTube, but there's nothing stopping me from trying to go pro on a game. To persuade parents that pro gaming is realistic and could be good for you, I can tell you about a streamer named Booga, who's won £3 million for winning a Fortnite tournament in 2019. Also, there are countless numbers of YouTubers making a living off their videos. In some cases, they're even making over 7 figures, which is insane. Although I have to admit, it's really hard to get to that level. Anything is possible, and through hard work and determination, you too could become a professional streamer. I'm not saying go become a YouTuber, you can get money. That's not realistic. But if you do enjoy gaming, creating a YouTube channel is free. And there's nothing stopping you from trying to give it a go and see what happens. However, I'm not going to sit here and pretend video games are great and have no downside at all. That's not true. On the flip side, these are a few headlines I've compiled which suggest video games are actually detrimental for mental well-being. I'll give you another few seconds just to have a look over it. These statements go as far as comparing video games and social media as a public health crisis. So let's have a look at some of the effects of gaming. Some of the adverse effects of gaming include the loss of interest in other activities. There have been surveys showing people get so addicted by video games that playing the game is all they want to do. They spend countless numbers of hours on a video game in a virtual world leveling up. People can get so addicted that even though they themselves can notice some detrimental psychosocial effects, they can't stop playing the game and have to continue to quench their thirst. Several studies have linked gaming with depression, anxiety, and aggression. They also link it with sleep deprivation and insomnia. However, these studies must be taken with a pinch of salt due to the fact that they focus on violent games such as shooters like Call of Duty. There needs to be more studies into various genres of games to prove the validity and strength of these connections, but they are respectable studies. Also, respected universities such as Harvard, Leeds, and Iowa connect time spent gaming to obesity and increased BMI levels. However, I don't want you to take from this presentation that gaming leads directly to obesity, since that's completely absurd and false. As you know, there are various factors which may contribute to obesity. For example, time spent gaming probably takes away from time that you otherwise might have spent doing physical activity. The studies mainly imply that we continue to take care of our body by changing our diet, altering the amount of physical activity, or spending less time gaming if required. Expanding on this on another note, physical activity is something I highly recommend even if you don't game. Me, Fizad, and Rahul are all avid gamers, but we ensure to stay fit, be it tennis for me or Fizad, or football for Rahul. Physical activity is vital to maintain a healthy lifestyle for people who spend time on video games. So, I'm sure you guys are happy to hear that this is my final slide. And so let's answer the question. Is gaming good for you then, or is it bad? I believe gaming is a wonderful asset to enjoy in our lives. However, I do have to stress that I think video games must be played in moderation, as should anything. Gaming is a viable source of stress relief. It's a catalyst for mental health improvement, and it also helps to develop social skills. I myself strongly feel that it's been a great stress reliever and has allowed me to communicate better with my friends, especially during lockdown. I know some parents who don't really care about their children's social media usage and their time spent in games. On the other hand, I know parents who micromanage their kids' screen time and social media usage. I'm not going to sit here and disagree with either of those approaches, since what works for one person won't be the same as what worked for another, and I'm in no position to give you advice. However, I will say that my parents have set a limit of how long I can go on the PlayStation, and that's worked exceptionally for us. Whatever you decide to do is your own decision to make. On my final note, you're responsible for yourself. I have to be honest, I'm going to admit, gaming and social media can be a dangerous place. However, as long as you behave safely and sensibly, the benefits and the joy that video games and social media can bring you far outweigh potential risks of addiction. I want to thank RISE Foundation UK again for giving us this opportunity on behalf of all of us. And I also want to thank Paul and Arvind for moderating this talk, and they've been instrumental in motivating us to do this. So yeah, thanks guys. You're on mute, Arvind.
There we go. Thank you. Yeah, it was a really great speech, Siva, as well as Fazad, Rahul, Daniel, and Harish. I think was really, really well communicated. To give a bit of context for the latter three boys, and that Paul gave a bit of context for the first two. I've known them, all three of them, for years now. They're really diligent, down-to-earth individuals, really, really caring. And I think it's really great to see them like really mature and grow into such confident young men. I think it's also really great that they've taken the time today to really inform and educate people about something that I know them to be very passionate about. And I think a lot of you seeing this or having seen their speeches just now will agree that we've all probably learned something about social media or gaming that we probably didn't do or didn't know going into this speech. And so thank you very much for that, boys. Yeah, once again, thank you very much. And so I guess it probably makes sense now to move into questions, which you've received a fair few, given social media and video games are fairly hot topics, especially amongst kids and parents. I know it's often a topic of conversation or dispute. So let's get into the question, shall we? So the first question, and I guess you can use your personal experiences to talk about this, is from Rupa Auntie, which is how do you balance schoolwork and online social media activities?
Well, I think that's a good question. It's really hard to balance those two things, given the fact that schoolwork, my parents especially, give huge importance to schoolwork, and that's not wrong. Me personally, I don't play much video games on school days. I know that's not the case for many people. Whatever works for them works. But yeah, you just got to make sure you finish your schoolwork first, make sure you finish your revision, especially after completing my GCSEs. I know that I had to make sure I kept on top of my revision. And yeah, video games took the back seat in the past year for me. But yeah, you just got to make sure you know what works for you and make sure you finish your work, schoolwork, before actually playing video games, maybe.
That makes a lot of sense. And someone who grew up also playing video games, I think saying, making sure that you know your limits and making sure you're on track is probably a very good idea. Any of the other boys, do you have anything else to say about this? Like, do you guys have different ways of balancing your time? Okay, so I guess you guys must all follow Siva's same method then. Okay, so again, we've got another question from Rupa Auntie, and she wants to know about screen time. So do you guys feel you're on the screen a lot, and what would you do to reduce it if you do? Harish, you're on mute. You're on mute.
Well, if you are on the screen too much and your screen time is going up, I would say set like a limit on your phone, and set a limit and a timer. And once time is up, then I say you should stop it and then stop going on the screen. And I think
Harish, you've gone quiet. I think. Do you want to just repeat that last sentence? Do you want to go closer to the mic if that's okay?
Sorry, I'll repeat that again. I would say if you're on screen too much, just just set like a limit on your phone, and once the time is up, put the screen down and go and do something else. And I think that would be good.
And if I push that point a bit further, what do you think is an acceptable time limit to have in terms of a screen?
I would say 1 hour on screen, 1 hour of your screen time.
Okay.
Well, I think during the pandemic, obviously we had online school, so I think the screen time was like very high during that. So obviously now in the summer, we can go outside, so screen time should be like, as Harris says, 1 to like 3 hours, I would say. But I think back when we had school, it was up to like 6 or 7 hours. So I guess there's just a mix between school term and summer term. So like, yeah.
So I think it varies according to situation. Yeah, sure.
Zard, I had a question because you were talking about concentration. So you felt that video games increase your concentration. Previous to this, we had another talk called Elephant in the Room about screen time, where others disagree. So do you think that it actually improves your concentration only in the video game, and then you think that you can transfer that to what was it you said, tennis, I think, because surely the video game is more exciting in that time span. The attention span you have is less because you're being bombarded with all this information you've got to process. And then you go to a lesson on school Monday morning, you have maths, and you look at the teacher writing on the board. Can you actually sit down for a few hours and just listen to your teacher?
Yeah.
Or do you think it's only in other things?
No, I think it is possible because you get used to sitting. I mean, if you play games a lot, you'll get used to sitting and playing for a long period of time. So I think it does help you. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Now I think we've got a social media related question. So perhaps I feel like the resident expert in the room, Daniel, might want to answer this. So, but what do you think social media will be like 20 years down the line?
It's quite a tough question, but I think it'll just be more developed, I guess. And I think obviously now there's going to be more AR and VR will try to be included with social media. I don't know exactly how they'll do it, but I think they'll try and definitely use some sort of virtual reality, I guess.
Yeah. So for some people, I guess they might not know what those two concepts are. So do you want to give like a quick overview of the two, just to further enlighten the audience?
I can kind of talk about virtual reality a little bit. Trying to put yourself in a real life situation as in a game, I think. AR, I don't really know much about, but yeah, VR's is trying to go as close to real life as possible.
Rahul, would you like to elaborate on that? So Rahul, would you like to elaborate on that?
I think VR is when it's not even like real life, but it's virtual reality. It's not in real life, but they try and make it seem as close as possible in real life, where you can do things in you really can't do in real life. It's kind of hard to explain.
Yeah.
I mean, you can check on YouTube. That's what my talk's been about. You can go on YouTube and figure out these types of things,
Exactly. Yeah, you can learn anything.
All right. So the people who are watching the call right now, you've all basically been given some homework to do by the people on this call. So you know what to do once the 24 hours are up. You can further educate yourself some more about VR. Got a question from Hema. So and the question is, have you ever felt agitated when you've had to stop playing after a few hours? What, particularly, the dopamine rush being cut off?
I think definitely most people have experienced this, as you said, the dopamine rush, the intense gaming, and getting told to put your PlayStation away, getting told to go and do some schoolwork. It doesn't feel great, but yeah, I think most people who play video games will feel that, but most people are able to overcome that. It's just not agitation, but it's just a slight feeling that, I would much rather be playing a video game right now than doing this. So I think, yeah, I don't know what the others think, but definitely after like a good session of gaming, I've always felt like, oh, I wish I could be back on now. But yeah.
Do you guys have do the other boys have anything to add?
Yeah, I would agree with Siva probably, because like 2 years ago, Fortnite was like the biggest game, I think, and like we can all agree that we all love to play it, and like obviously we'll be on it for hours a day, and then like we go to school and we just like, oh, I wish I could get back home, and like all we'd think about is getting back home and getting on the PS4 and like playing with your mates. And I think, well, maybe not so much now, I play only like FIFA here and there, but I think back in the day with those like good games and intense like games, I think you really just want to, it's always in the back of your mind. So yeah.
Yeah, I remember all too well hearing him shout across the other room when he was playing Fortnite.
It's interesting that you do say that. I don't know, Paul, I don't know how big of a gamer you were back in the day, but for me, I'd never want to finish a session of playing FIFA on a losing streak.
Yeah.
And it felt every time, but I was so, you know, I think that more almost like the competitive spirit more than the dopamine effect was the bigger issue for me. I don't know how you guys feel about that. But yeah, we have some more questions, and so we've got another question from Christian Kieran this time, asking, so how can you access social media safely? Like, how can kids access social media safely?
Harish, what do you have to say about that?
You're on mute again, Harish.
Just come a bit closer to your mic.
Sorry, can someone else take over while I sort out my issue?
We can hear you now.
We can hear you perfectly.
Good. I think if kids wanted to use, if more kids did wanted to use social media, I would say, like, if to be safe, I would say you make your account private, and parental control would and I would say parental control would be more suitable.
Yeah. I think that, correct me if I'm wrong, Daniel, or whoever else wants to cover this, but I believe there are age restrictions on certain social media platforms to protect children anyway.
Yeah, there are, and obviously with like stuff like YouTube and Netflix, I'm pretty sure there's something called YouTube Kids and Netflix Kids, so you can only watch like kids shows and kids movies up to like the age of 8 or 9, I think.
On the topic of age, I was just going to ask, video games. I remember back in my day, there are a lot of 18 plus games, 16 plus games, Call of Duty, Assassin's Creed, things like that. However, it was very common for everyone to play it at age 13, 14. Do you think it's a downside playing that early and it affects you? Or do you think, it's already there? It's not like we can do anything about it now. It's the parents' decision. And if the kid plays it, they play it. Do you feel like it's affected any of you if you've played it?
I think it's down. Oh, go on now.
Everyone was talking now.
I feel like if the parents are okay with it, then it should be okay, because at the end of the day, it's up to them. So if they feel like it's going to affect us playing it, then we could listen to them. We won't play it. But personally, I play Call of Duty with my friends, and my parents they seem to be okay with it. So I feel like it's okay.
I think your parents. I think parents know their kids the best. They know how mature they are. And in the end, it should be down to them. I mean, especially with social media as well. I think the age limit for WhatsApp is 16 years old, and the age limit for Instagram is 13 years old. But I'm pretty sure a lot of the young kids out there, maybe who have a phone, already use WhatsApp or Insta. So I think as long as the parents are okay with it, you should be fine. But just, yeah, make sure you're sensible and yeah.
Yeah. I think one personal thing or something that was always taught to me was, if you're going to create like an Insta account or something to only follow people that you know. I don't know how like relevant that is these days, but I'd assume it still holds. Yeah. And we have an anonymous question, which is, and I think it's quite a tricky one. So this might have to be a bit of a joint effort in terms of what your response is, but it's, how can gamers and social media users protect themselves and their social media and gaming friends from being led down a dark path by unauthorized government actors? So I personally don't know where to begin with that question. So I think that you guys as experts are probably going to have to formulate something.
I have no clue what's going on here. I assume these are the conspiracy theories of FBI agents watching everything you do, which I'm pretty sure I can assure you is completely false. But yeah, I guess make your accounts private and only play with friends. I don't know how. What was it? Unauthorized government agencies?
Do you want me to repeat the question?
No, I think it's fine. But yeah, I don't think their worry is necessarily valid. I don't think I understand that they might have a worry about that, but I don't think it's anything to really worry about if they are genuinely have a true worry about it. But yeah, just make sure your accounts are private. Make sure you only game with friends. Yeah.
All right.
Guys, what do you think the question, where it come from in our group? It's Gamma.
Oh, yeah. Well, thanks, Gamma Uncle, for the question.
It's a very tricky question that he's asked you there.
Yep.
Maybe an entirely separate talk like you do on it.
Anything comes from Gamma is tricky anyway.
Yeah, true. I mean, so Siva, you mentioned it's completely false that people have access to our information. But I mean, I don't know about you, but I feel like me and Darren.
I wouldn't say it's completely false. You've seen Facebook scandal, for example.
Yeah,
with,
Mark Zuckerberg.
They're being leaked, and it's not completely false. But if you're going to worry about that stuff, your mental health is going to be damaged like hugely. I really hope you guys don't really. I hope you don't have to worry about that stuff first of all. But I can assure you, there's millions of people using social media sites. And I know like there have been scandals in the past, but you just have to hope that everything's okay. But yeah, I don't know what to, yeah.
Yeah, but I think like a lot of people like ignore the fact of that, because if you like, when you sign up for a new app, there's the terms and conditions and it's like pages and pages, but everyone just accepts it. And like, if you read in depth into it, like the companies do say that they do store some of your data and stuff, but like people don't realize that because they've just accepted it. So like, I don't know, it depends what your choice is, if you want to read that for hours or just want to have fun with the app.
No, I completely agree with that. And then with the point Daniel said, they store your data. That's complete. You hear news, you hear stories of people going to a job interview and they dig up stuff from like 5-6 years ago, like a decade ago. And you hear people that getting rejected from a job interview because of something they posted. So yeah, you definitely have to be careful with social media. You definitely have to be, you don't want to do anything you wouldn't do in real life, is my advice.
I agree with that. And do you guys think there's like a particular social media platform where you have to be really, really careful? Because for like what I'm aware, most of the scandals are caused by, I think it's Twitter, with like resurfaced tweets. Would you guys agree that's probably the most risky one, or do you think like Instagram or TikTok are posing?
Well, I mean, we don't really use Twitter. Like, I don't think teenagers like. I don't know if you guys use Twitter, but like, it's more for, I think, older people. I'm assuming. Like, so what do you think?
Yeah, I think no, I think Arvin's right. Twitter and maybe even Facebook.
Yeah.
But, I'm not too active on those sites. I do have an account, but I don't post anything. I'm private on it, so I can't really advise you guys on that. But yeah, I think Paul was saying that we're quoting Noel, so maybe he can, maybe he uses that a lot or something.
I think it's something that you sort of, as you grow older, just the way that they present some of the information is just quite funny, or you can learn a lot from Twitter as well. It's quite educational, as well, as all that, and has, you know, everything like the news and everything. So in that way, Twitter is quite useful to use, mostly for looking at memes as well. But yeah, the educational part. In saying that, on the topic of education and the TikTok and everything, Daniel, what do you think about financial incentives and social media? How do you think that works? Because I mean, I have no idea how that works. You have all the experience here.
I mean, I guess. Well, recently there's something happened with TikTok and or like I think it was Instagram and cryptocurrencies, because Instagram influencers are like promoting bad stuff about it. So I think you just have to be careful about what you promote, especially if you're an influencer. Like, do what you believe in majority, like do that, not just random stuff, because there's been a lot of scams happening, especially in like the finance market, and like pyramid schemes, like Instagram DMs, you'll be like, hey, join me with this, I'll help you make money, and like, you know, all these are scams. So you just have to be careful and like see what you know is right and wrong, basically.
I think I agree with that, and I have a lot of respect for some TikTokers, some social media like users, influencers. There's been loads of news recently on some TikTokers or Instagram users, especially bodybuilders, promoting stuff called Psalms and promoting like other stuff that could be potentially harmful to you. So as well as it's a financial incentive, but you have a responsibility as a creator, I feel. Promote stuff that you feel is good and promote stuff that you feel will improve the well-being of others. So yeah.
Yeah, on that note, like, so I remember seeing a video a few months ago, and it was something about get a six-pack, and it was like a six-pack machine, and you just put it on, and like this, I think he was one of the biggest TikTok creators ever, and he did that video, and obviously he has a six-pack, and then in the comments, everyone was just roasting him, being like, how much did you get paid for this? And why are you doing this? Like, you're just ruining your account. So like, if you built an account that high up, you don't want to ruin it like just for some money, I guess. So you want to like promote what you want and like what you know is right, and not just some random stuff.
Yeah, I think that's some really well thought out opinions there. I think you guys feel very passionately about this. Yeah. We have another question from my mother, in fact, and you guys might have a bit of a vested interest because it might allow you to play some more games, or allow you to play more games if you answer this well. So they're asking, can you teach parents how to play video games, because we might then encourage you guys? So
yes, we would be happy to teach parents to play video games, because what happens is, because if parents start to learn how to play video games, and we get siblings as well, it would be very good to play as a family.
I think Harish is setting up some private tutoring sessions on video games. So if you'd like to call him or something, just call. Yeah, no, I'm joking. But yeah, I think Aravin's like the best gamer here. He's had lots of experience in FIFA, so I'm sure your son will be happy to help you out. But yeah, I think it's definitely a good thing that parents get into video games as well. Yeah, you connect with your kids more, stress relief. What's not to like about it?
So I'd just like to add that I beat him on FIFA. So
I thought I was the best FIFA player.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, guys. We'll,
maybe I've started.
No.
It's the competitive spirit.
But so it's still up for debate. But would you guys have a recommendation of the easiest games? Because everyone, you've got to start somewhere, right? But you can't get thrown into the deep end as such.
I think Minecraft would be the easiest, because you can do what you want, right? It's not really like beating other people. You can just do what you want on that.
I don't know if people use the Wii anymore, but I started off on Super Mario Bros. And honestly, it was so good. It might be old, but it was just amazing. So yeah.
Anyone else have any recommendations they want to give? I think me and my mum used to play Wii Sport together. I agree. There's the game back in the day.
Yeah, like tennis. I remember that. The boxing. Me and Daniel loved that. Just in the living room, you'd actually, and it was actually physical exercise. The boxing. My arms would be so tired, and I'd be sweating after it. So there you go, another benefit, I guess.
My mum's just said that she used to get, I used to beat her at it every time. So I think she might maybe giving your parents a bit of a, letting them win sometimes might be in your favor as well, guys. Apparently, just yeah, note. Do we have any more questions? Oh, apparently, well, Rupa has come with a response saying, "Is it not easier to build Lego together as a family?" Well, Paul and Daniel.
Yeah, I mean it is, but at the same time, you can do anything as a family if you're enjoying it together. You're all interacting with each other. You can. Does anyone else have any opinions on that?
My point is, how many times are you going to build that Lego set over and over again? With video games, you can play that game as many times as you want. It might be easier to build a Lego set, but it's a one-time thing. So
you can also create new things from that Lego set.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
I think you can do Lego or whatever you want, but the best thing is to spend time with your family. I think that's, even in video games, teach your parents how to play, then you're spending more time with them.
It's a good point.
You try hard enough, you can get your parents involved in just about anything. Just some things require more pushing than others, right? Yeah. We have a couple more minutes, so just in case there are any, yeah, a couple more minutes. So if anyone wants to ask any further questions, then by all means go for it.
Have you guys got any questions within yourselves? You may have differing viewpoints on social media, video games.
So Daniel, you're big on TikTok. What advice would you give someone starting out, trying to aspire to become you, trying to follow your footsteps?
That's a brilliant question.
Consistency, I think, is the key. I think especially recently, if you just got to be consistent, like try and do every day. Especially at the start, you want to do like 1 to 3 posts a day, and when you built like say 10k following, you can at least slow down a bit, like once in 2 days, but you already have a following. But like at the start, you just got to know that no one's going to watch you, but if you're consistent over months, eventually people will watch you. It's like YouTube, like KSI, they all started with no one watching them, and like obviously you just got to be consistent and eventually you'll get there.
Wise words to live by. And Rahul, again, Rupa has commented saying that your father is indeed going to climb Mount Everest virtually. So, if you have a response to that, or you'll allow your dad to respond to that at a later date. But yeah, I think that was once again really great talk and really great panel discussion from all 5 of you boys. That was a very informative talk, and as I said, just after your speech concluded, I think a lot of people will have learned something that, or learned many things that they didn't know before. So thanks again, and I'll pass it over to Paul to do the final conclusions or roundup.
Yeah, I mean, I've got no anything to add, but well done to everyone. I think it's a new topic that not many people actually know about, and from your perspective, your viewpoint, you've explained how it works, what you both like and dislike about it, and what it can do in the future. And yeah, as Vijayanti said, everyone go and teach their mums and dads and even their grandparents, get them all involved in video games. As you said, it helps with the family time. But yeah, thank you everyone for watching. Thanks Aravind for moderating with me. And remember guys, keep spamming that link, keep donating to RISE charity. Let's see if we can get to 100% and over as soon as possible. Thank you.
Guys.
Well done, boys.
It is.
Yes.
I think Guru start.
Okay. Hello. Hello, everybody. Good morning. So welcome to the 24 hours webinar conducted by the RISE Foundation UK. So thanks for giving me the opportunity to introduce the speakers for this session. The session is how to organize the digital photographs, and it is conducted by none other than Saran Dorairaj and Kaviyarasan Karunanidhi.
And Subbu.
And Subbu is also my co-moderator.
Thanks, Guru.
So yeah, I'll just introduce Saran to you. So Saran and myself, we both together trained as pediatric registrars, and I know him from 2009. Then Saran is now working as a consultant pediatric cardiologist in the Glenfield Hospital. And he is a very kind person, and during the training he was known to be very empathetic, very compassionate doctor, and everybody wanted him to come to pediatric oncology and do the oncology training with people, but he preferred cardiology. So the cardiology team was more lucky to have him. So Saran has done a lot of charity work as well. He has worked with Little Hearts Charity, which is a charity which goes to the developed countries and does some heart surgeries. And he is also very multi-talented, and he's a great sports person whom I have seen. He's a very good fast bowler, and he has got a very good tennis skills because he plays almost 2 to 3 times a week with us. So I can watch for him. And he is a great cook, and he cooks very good biryani. So if anybody wants biryani, you can ask Saran. And he is a good singer, dancer, and also is a very sporty person we already knew. So that's Saran in few lines for you guys. So it's all back to Subbu to introduce Kavi, please. And please donate to the good cause for the RISE Foundation. And just so that they can reach the target.
Thank you, Guru. And I don't know how to introduce Kavi. More than Kavi, we call him as the legend. And I was actually perplexed, so I don't know how to introduce him. He's such a huge personality. And we need to introduce him anyway. And it's a huge honor and a privilege to introduce Kaviyarasan Karunanidhi. And this event, a RISE-24 webinar, is a brainchild for him. And this is second year in running, and nobody knew about this event. And I don't know anyone has conducted such a 24-hour live webinar running throughout the world in different countries and attended by a huge audience, and that too for a noble cause. It's a charitable cause. And a huge applause for him and his great team. And not only team and all the family members and his friends. And is again like Saran, he's a multi-talented personality. He's a IT person by career. But currently he's a chairperson for Healthia. It's a startup for new startup for the PCR testing. And again, like Saran, he compliments with him, like he's a great cook as well. You think about chicken, anything in chicken, he cooks for you. You should try that sometime. And what else? And he's, I should say this, again, the RISE Foundation charity and the name behind it is everything comes from him. So he's a great person to have for this talk. And let's hand over to him. And we'll take the questions, one or two, if there are any, at the end of this talk. Thank you. Over to you guys.
Thank you, Subu. Thank you, guys. I hope you guys can see the slides. Okay, I think to start with, thanks for the opportunity, first of all, to the team. Again, this was something which I had in mind, a completely different person. Unfortunately, he couldn't contribute to this. So again, I think I had some interest in troubleshooting these type of problems. So I think I'm just going to share my experience. Obviously, Kavi has got wealth of knowledge in IT and also some AI. So we will talk about how we kind of tackle these issues. So we are not experts, but I think we are kind of like to tackle problems. So that's how we are going to see this. So why we choose these topics, I think this is kind of becoming commoner and commoner. I think I don't have to say this. I think with the access to camera in your hands, pretty much everybody has got a smartphone with a very high resolution capabilities. We all started taking photos. I think this is exponentially increasing because soon after you see something, you like something, you take it and capture it. Gone are the days where we used to use, I think there are still small group of people or photographic enthusiasts who still use digital cameras or the single reflex cameras. But that is kind of getting more of used ad hoc, put it that way. And then it comes the action cameras and also the drones, which where we take more photographs. And it's not uncommon now. Every person is a part of kind of some messaging group or some social media group where you get a lot of photos. Once you like it, you like to save it onto your folders. So this kind of keeps adding. And obviously, when we kind of go back in time, if you got photos which were in hard copies, people started to look for digitalizing them. So I think the source where you get all this digital photos and photographies is getting increasingly larger and larger. With this one comes its own problems. So the question really comes there, what to store and how you want to store and where to store and how to access where you have stored. So this is kind of the framework of a talk. So what I asked is, I think this is kind of our version of it. And then I asked one of my colleagues who's Dr. Skinner. He's a photographic enthusiast. And he also likes to work with photo processing and also saving photos. And so he has shared his experience as a small video. So we will show his workflow. And this is kind of our workflow. So we will take you through this. So I think I'm not trying to teach anybody anything, but when you take photographs, there is different ways of what we call as post-processing. So many times when you take photographs on a routine camera or on a say iPhone or any other Android-based phones or other operating software phones, you will have options of saving these images in different formats. Okay, the commonest formats, which we all know, which we all access, is something called as JPEG, okay, which is slightly format to save space, but it has got the resolution for us to review things on a computer screen or on a smaller screen. But if you got access to say like SLR cameras or digital SLR cameras, that's where your actual raw files come into play. And raw files can be very space occupying. And this doesn't stop there. I think if you depends on whichever type of cameras you use, say for example, if you use a Nikon camera or something like Canon, they've got their own way of indexing these files as a raw file. So it's completely different depending on where you actually start taking photos. And this is where the issue with size and resolution comes. I think nowadays they've got access to 4K photography, HDR photography, and whatnot. I think you can take any type of photographs. And that comes with a higher resolution because I think although human eyes cannot see beyond certain things, but we still like to take in an extremely high resolution. Because at some stage, if you want to make it as a bigger projection, these types of how much pixels you've got into that one small space does matter. And that's where it comes. But I think size doesn't actually equate to resolution. So you can have still a high resolution photo file as a smaller file size. And then post-processing, which is a separate business. I think people, again, I'm not an expert in it, but people who have worked in photo files and those who work with Adobe Lightrooms or Adobe Photoshops, I think they know. I think we used to do a lot of post-processing, but I think that doesn't exist sometimes anymore. The software which actually reformats and recreates these pictures are getting better and better. So it almost always looks that you don't need to do so much of post-processing. And there are kind of prefixes as well. So you do not have to do it. I think you just take a portrait picture on a, say, iPhone or an Android, click of a button, you might be able to delete the background and put over whatever background you want. So this is kind of takes us to what to store as a last problem, which is what I face a lot. I think the problem is when we take attend a party in a group picture, the commonest temptation, if there is a group of people who sit there and you are asked to take a photo, you never stop just clicking once. You click at least 10 times or 5 times, whatever it is. So you always repeat this photograph. So that becomes what we call as a photographic clutter or digital clutter. What do you do with this? Again, this is where your time kind of actually gets wasted. So you have to invest time. I think that is the only way you can actually remove photographic clutter. Otherwise, there are few other ways of doing it, but just for example, there are simple programs which you can download from, and I think it's pretty easily available. You say find duplicates and delete duplicates. The photographic, the software which you can run can find duplicate photographs. So if there is same photographs which is repeated, you can delete it or it will show you what are the duplicates and you can delete it. And I think blurred photographs, obviously, if it is out of focus, there are certain AI programs which will pick it up. And I think the one thing which I've put is remove common photographs. Like I think, say for example, if you're visiting a beach or a flower show, yeah, so you may want to take a photo once, but going to a tulip garden in Amsterdam and taking hundreds of photos on your phone doesn't really matter, because you just go into Google Photos or online platform, you click, you want a tulip flowers, there will be high resolution photos available. So I think that becomes a photographic clutter. You can save 1 or 2 photos, but not trying to take what other people have already invested time to take greater quality pictures. And then think about it. Do you really need it? Or do you really need something which you want to see it back? And the last but not the least, I think sometimes we end up, if people do not know what to do with the social media side of things, I think you might just generate a lot of junk in terms of reputation of photos, etc., etc. You take photos, and if you've got automatic backups for these photos, they all get shared into the space where you want to save them, and that becomes a clutter. So there is no easy way out. You have to invest time. You have to sit with these photos on a weekly basis or a monthly basis, try and see which one you think you would see it in 5 years' time or 10 years' time, and you would love to see in a few years' time. Otherwise, I think it's probably a matter of actually decluttering is a mammoth task. Do you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll probably finish off what we wanted to say. So that takes us to the next thing about where to store. So where do you store images is something depends on personal preferences plus the way what you're used to. So to give an example, say if you've got a digital SLR camera, which is either Wi-Fi enabled or you have to do a manual backup, you connect to a computer, you can just make sure that every time you connect that computer, that camera to the computer, it automatically downloads all the photo files into a specific app folder into the computer, which may be a Mac or a Windows or a Linux based or whatever it is. Okay? On the same ground, if you take photos on an iPhone, nowadays, say for example, if you buy an Android phone, you are already equipped with Google Photos. So soon after you take something on the gallery, it gets uploaded to Google, unless otherwise you force to say do not backup onto Google Photos. Okay? So whatever you take, you can automatically backup into something called as cloud service. And this takes us to a second issue. Now, cloud service, I think when I started using, say, for example, Google, the most attractive feature at that point of time with Google is it's free. So you can store any amount of data into it. It's fine. And on that ground, iPhotos or used to be iPhotos was not hugely attractive because you have to pay for it. And that changed into Photos. And then I think there are so many other cloud-based photo storage system came into play, like Amazon Photos, Yahoo Flickr, and now you've got Facebook, you've got other things which we can store. And this all comes at a cost. Okay, so because our digital library will keep on increasing, I think as I showed on the first slide. So that puts us into a kind of a context where you can probably start thinking Google is okay now, but say this is like now since kind of start of June last year, Google have now put a kind of a benchmark to say, I think beyond 15 GB, it won't allow. So I think we just showed. Okay, so I think there is, just a second. Let me reconnect one more time. Okay, that's good. So I think we talked about paid service. So I think that also takes us to say, I think nowadays we have, I think soon after, within a couple of years, you might end up with a terabyte of data to actually deal with. So that is quite a lot of data we're talking about. And this is only going to increase because if you've got a family of say 4, everybody will have access to some kind of smartphones. If you put this into a cloud backup as a family cloud backup, it is going to exponentially build up at times 4. So you will actually occupy space a lot of more. So you need to really think what's right for you. And again, there are caveats to storing into cloud services. Soon after they are free, it means that there is some compression which goes on. So whatever quality you have acquired does not go into the cloud, except for very few things which used to be the case. Like Flickr used to actually allow you to save something uncompressed for a period of time. Now everything, it's kind of, it's becoming paid. So because all these companies, I think that's kind of probably a flavor they give to say that you start to like it. And then once you start liking it, you cannot live without it, and then start charging for it. That probably makes you think whether you should create a local cloud within your system, which is not something which is difficult, put it that way. So we all have our own network, all have our own firewall built into our network. So what you're all doing is to try and store into your own cloud, or you create your own cloud. And there are plenty of options for this. I think the commonest which people know is, say, the Western Digital side of things. They offer similar thing. There are many services like Photolib, etc., etc. And the advantage is you can keep the cloud for yourself at your home, and you can probably duplicate it as we go along. So if you want to expand the memory, you can keep adding on. And the type of memory you wanted to add, I think that is a different topic for itself. So I'm not going to touch on that. So for many people, as ancient days, I think going back like even 5 or 6 years ago, I think I just tend to store most of my files into a normal local drive and back it up into a second local drive so that I don't lose them, and just keep it in my home. That's all. And say, for example, it's a disk drive rather than a hard drive. If it is a disk-based drive, I think it is always, you got a tendency to get corrupted. Now the steady-state drives or solid-state drives have come out, so which are much more solid. So, but the disadvantages are there's always a potential you can lose them, they can get damaged, etc., etc. So, cloud service advantages, even if you're traveling across countries, you can still access them. But those are always caveats to this. So. And then I think once you manage to think about where you want to store, and depending on the kind of destination you're storing, say, for example, if you go with photos like Apple, or if you go with Adobe Lightroom, or if you go with Google Photos, which automatically has some organizing ability in itself. So each photo files, currently at least the digital photo files, has something called as a metadata. Metadata is something which we don't see, but all it has got, depending on how much preferences you've given, it will have, say, date it was taken, location it was taken, latitude, longitude it was taken, a kind of it reads, etc., etc. A lot of information on that. So automatically, when you start uploading this into a cloud server, the cloud server starts to have all this data. So it's kind of a software which segregates into different types. Now, this goes beyond that. The softwares are getting cleverer. It can recognize face, which you already started to see. It can recognize events. So if it sees like a birthday cake or something, it knows that it is kind of a party. So it's put into a different folder. And if it is a tourist spot, it knows that you're actually travel. So it puts in a different time base. So I think that it's kind of goes beyond and beyond. If you start thinking about, you don't want to go down the paid cloud service, but you want to do your own cloud service, like say, for example, if you just go with like a Western Digital local drives, what it does is it actually is able to store photos in there, and it has got its own AI software inbuilt in. So you're not dependent on anything, and that is updatable. This probably keeps coming back. I think once you have stored and sorted all these things, you need to way of accessing it. I think the most times I have accessed photos is when I, say, for example, gone through an event or gone through something, if I make a movie out of it, or I think if you just put the movie as a block, as a slideshow, and then I think the chances of you looking at it is more. The chances of you may be able to display it into your own televisions or etc. as a photo frame is higher. So you will be able to watch it more, and you will be able to kind of relive those moments. So I think getting connected to some kind of software so that you'll be able to see it is much more nicer. And most of these current technologies like Echo Shows or Google Nest, everything nowadays comes with a way that if you just store it in their cloud, it will automatically throw into this so you can see them. So, and I think nowadays you always have seen, like, I think in essence, if you have got an iPhone, you will have an option that it will remind you on that day what we are doing a year ago. So this is something the AI does for you. So these are the things which I was talking about. So this kind of concludes what I wanted to say. So I just wanted to keep it as simple as possible. Sorry?
Yeah, thank you, Saran. I think you covered everything. Okay, so first of all, it's a small, background why we choosing the, topic. The topic come from, our date, Subbu. So the reason because he asked, to just we're not expert, right? Saran is not expert. We are just using, all photo, applications like Google Photos and iCloud and stuff. But this particular one, Subbu is he asked for it because it takes, like, say, if you go out for 10 minutes, you take 500 photos. He has the 500 photos, it will be all duplicated. It will be different angle, So that's why, be unmanageable, so many photos, in the phone, and we don't know what to do. So because the photo is not, like, it's not a small size, they are based on the quality, there will be huge files. And then it's really easy, it's not easy to transfer, right, from phone to phone, the computer stuff, but it takes time. So it needs a little bit of technical knowledge. You want to really transfer the files to somewhere else. So that's why the first thing I want to really advise to do is when you're taking photo, the first thing you should do is delete them. So delete 99% of photo you have taken. So only 1%. That's what you need. Sorry, that's what you need. Because if all of us, if we take like so many photos, if you really see, only 1%, 2% we like them, right? Remaining all, maybe it's not the lighting not good, or maybe the photo not comes proper, or not we're not posed properly. So they are unused, but we don't delete them. The first thing, just delete them. Just delete most of the photos that you don't need. If you take like, say for example, if you're reading a document, like say 500 pages PDF file, so that file, the size of the 500 pages is like say a few MBs, but whereas the one photo may be more than more than like say 10 MBs file. If it is a really a quality file. So basically, it is for most of us we use the Google Photos to store files, or iCloud. Because they have a built-in algorithms to look at the photo metadata. When I say metadata, every photo you take, the phone will add few informations to the file, to the photo, like say where the photo is taken, and then where we are, and then if you have basically if you even the algorithms will look for the photo recognitions, like with face recognitions really, and then you try to map them. Like if me or four of us taken a file in a photo, then you try to see where we are into which because everything is kind of understandable within the phone. If you have sent a message to say like I'm going to this event here, and then the phone knows that okay, we have come here, and then try to see that okay, this time we are here, and these are the files. So those kind of things all attached to the photo. So the Google Photos and iCloud, they understand very well. We don't need to be a master to use these. All we have to do is just sign up to Gmail and then just download Google Photos. Okay, and then you run it in a background mode, and then when you take a photos, as long as the app is running in the background mode, it will just upload into Google Cloud. When you say cloud, it's imagine there's another computer sitting somewhere, and then you go to the website, in the URL, and you access them. So we can show some of the Google Photos how it works. I think you would have seen it before, but unfortunately we have our own personal photos. Really don't want to show them here. But if you go to photos.google.com, and then if you have an app, Google Photos app installed on your iPhone or Android, then your photos will be uploaded to the cloud. And then when you go to photos.google, you see everything's tagged, and then it asks you to recognize the faces as long as you given the face recognition. So for example, the first time it will ask me, say for example, Subbu's face, who is he? If you put like if you put like a Subbu's name on his face, and then every photo where it can find the Subbu, it knows that it is Subbu. So it will all group together. It comes like a one file, one face. When I click in the Subbu's face, it will just bring me all the photos where Subbu is placed. So that's the best way to organize, easy to do. No need, if you have a hard drive, say you want to go for have a local hard drive, you want to store the file, and it will be unmanageable. Especially like Subbu, and myself also, I take so many photos. If I go out, even the videos. So the photos and videos, those can be managed in AI Cloud.
I think you have one more minute. So we need to move on to the next topic. It's almost 1 o'clock now. Did you have anything to say?
I think Hema's only asked about how to save pictures taken on kids' phones safely. Again, it's a very hypothetical question because
it's sorry, it's
go on.
Sorry, Saran, it's not how to save the kid photos. It's because kids will be using the phones, how to safely store the pictures which we have taken digitally. Like probably it may be like a when you back up, like into the iCloud, whatever that may be one of the ways where you can store digitally. That's what I felt. But you are the expert.
No, I might have just piece of paper.
Okay, lovely. Thank you. I think we are out of time, and thank you, both of you. And it's a huge honor and privilege to listen to your talk. And it's I'm grateful to Guru as well, coordinating this talk. And we will wind out this talk, and we'll move on to our next talk.
But Subbu, you're not asking any question.
So we are out of time. Sorry, I will move on to the next talk, and we will answer your questions by email or on the chat show, and we move on to the next talk. Thank you for all sort of waking up till now and listening to our talks. And please donate to RISE Foundation, and it is for a noble cause. Thank you all.
Thank you, Saran. Thank you, Kavi. Thank you, Subbu, for all the opportunity.
Thank you guys so much. ஓகே ஓகே இல்ல புக்ல அனுப்புங்க. இல்ல வாங்க சுரேஷ் வாங்க, நான் பண்ணிக்கிறேன். வாங்க சுரேஷ் வாங்க வாங்க வாங்க.
Hello guys, moving on. Can you all hear me?
Raghu, just one moment. One second.
Yes.
Ready? No, ready?
Suresh, Kavi, are we ready?
வீடியோ மட்டும் நான் பார்த்துட்டு பேசுகிறேன் பண்ணட்டும் வீடியோ இல்லாமல் நான் இதை பார்த்துட்டு பேசுகிறேன்.
Okay, start.
Right, guys. So carrying on, the next topic is travel during a pandemic. So welcome all of you, those who have joined the webinar now, which is peak in the middle of the mid of the night. So thank you for those who are still awake. And then thank you for the rest of the people who are in other parts of the globe with more civilized times. So the topic travel during pandemic. It's a privilege, honor to welcome Suresh and Kavi. So Suresh Sitaraman is an entrepreneur, is an engineer with more than 25 years of experience. He believes with a disciplined and professional life, an ordinary man can reach extraordinary heights, which obviously he has demonstrated. Kavirasan Karunanidhi, he is a software engineer with 16 years of experience. He has organized and run successfully many organizations. He is a part of Legend Singers. Obviously, he is one instrumental in this the RISE organization. Both Suresh and Kavi are the main people, are the founders who run the organization Healthia, which is about COVID testing. And as Subbu describes Kavi as the legend and the legend. So two legends will be talking about Healthia and their experience, and then the travel during pandemic, what advice we should follow. Such an important, relevant, and we are all entrepreneurs, but the fact that they found there is a niche in the market, there is a necessity, and how timely they've involved, and in the process they're helping out people. So over to you guys.
Thank you, Raghu, for the wonderful introduction. Here as a director of Healthia, we like to talk about how the COVID, the pandemic, changed the way we travel. Before the introduction, we'll discuss about what changed and type of COVID test and what should do when you're leaving UK and entering UK. UK government introduced a traffic light system. The different countries have their own arrangement, different system. So UK government, they call it as a traffic light system. And just one second. And then the benefit of vaccination. We will cover all those things here. Before pandemic, we were really worried about whether we have taken the passport with us and taken enough insurance. Is it the right insurance? That sort of thing. Another thing is the foreign currency. We have enough foreign currency, what sort of card we can take it, how we can save money. So we were worrying about it, not about the COVID test. Now in the pandemic, our main worry is COVID test. What sort of test we should take and how much it would cost, whether the foreign country will accept our test. All those things are coming into play now. Yeah, and then the airline rules, destination country rules, within the destination country, the territory rules, all these things are, we need to worry about it. So we'll see one by one in our next slide. Yeah, first I'll give a brief about the types of tests we carry out here in Healthia. The PCR test, which is polymerase chain reaction test, which is the gold standard test. And because of the gold standard test, as the name implies, most of the airlines and the foreign countries, they accept this test. We take the swab and we send it to the lab. The processing time is slightly much higher than the normal antigen or rapid flow test. And it takes up to 6 to 8 hours for them to process it. So the turnaround time varies from 12 hours to 24 hours or 36 hours, depending upon the provider and depending upon the lab. But this is mostly accepted standard. Many airlines and many destination countries and government organizations, they accept this polymerase chain reaction PCR test. And the sensitivity or accuracy of this test is much, much higher than the antigen test. And in this test, you do both the throat as well as the, we take sample from the nose. Yeah. Antigen tests are commonly known as the lateral flow test. It involves only the swab of the nose. Many people feel very irritating, very uncomfortable when you touch the throat. The swab just reduces the thing. And antigen test, you do only the nose. And the accuracy level is not as good as the PCR test, which is 98.2% sensitive level. And it is much cheaper, and the turnaround time is just 15 minutes. So the school, in the workplaces and many industries, they all use this, returning to work, that sort of places, they are using this antigen test. You might have seen our kids are very familiar with this antigen test. People come here, they said, we have done several antigen tests at home or at schools and all. This is very simple, but still effective one. Many countries, they agree, they accept this antigen test. Yeah, when you do the PCR test, the other concern is what are the information it should include in the test result. We always ask our customer, the travelers, to bring their passport, with them, so that we check their name, their first name, surname, whether these things are spelled properly. Because since it's an online application, many people assume they just enter their first name, they don't enter their surname, they miss their middle name. We always check whether the names are entered properly and as per the passport. Some people have the name, one name in passport and different name in the driving license, meaning not an entirely different name. They miss out the other name and they say it's okay. But at the immigration, depending upon the person who is sitting at the desk. So we have seen so many cases, calling us and asking to confirm. They send us an email. They allow the customer to leave enter into that country, foreign country, but then they send us an email asking us to confirm the name, that sort of thing. So we do that. And the date of birth or age. This is a common mistake people make. They don't enter the name, and the American customers, American travelers, when they come here, they enter the month and date wrongly. Then they ask us to change it. So make sure that you are entering all this name, date of birth, or properly. And from our end, when we take that test, we mention the date and time, which is very, very important. The time, most of the countries will say 48 hours before the departure or 72 hours before departure, you should have taken this test. So from our end, we mentioned this time of the test, date and time of the test. The test result itself will say whether it is negative or positive or inconclusive. It can go either way. So the quality of the test swab is very, very important to have a conclusive result. Otherwise, the test result will be inconclusive. If it is inconclusive, the traveler, they can't travel. And that's the reason why they have to give enough time to book the test. And if it is 72 hours, I would advise to take maximum benefit out of it. Give them some enough time to rerun the test in case if it is inclusive. It won't happen if the swab is taken properly, but anything can happen during this stressful time. So give them enough time to take it. In the test result certificate, we include the provider name, the lab name, and the contact details. As I said earlier, we have received emails from the foreign immigration authorities. Earlier and all, they were cheating. Somebody were using other company's name and they were printing out the test result. So now our test certificates carries the QR code, which they can verify all the test results, not only our company. We are all government approved providers will issue the certificate with the QR code, especially in India and Pakistan and the Southeast countries. They look for this QR code. Make sure that whoever you are booking with, they have this QR code. Otherwise, you will be sent back and they won't allow you to enter into the country. Yeah. So during the travel, you have to consider two aspects, leaving UK and entering UK. So when you're leaving the UK, check the rules for the country you are going to. The best place to check is the UK government travel advice, foreign country travel advice. There you check their entry requirements, that particular section. They talk about many things. We need to focus on the entry requirements. Yeah. Within the country, a different territory and a different region may have a different rule. Make sure that, ensure that you are reading that particular area where you are going, the rules applicable to that particular region. So many countries, they accept the proof of vaccination. If double vaccinated, you are all free to go. And negative COVID certificate, quarantine when you are there, or recovered from COVID positive. So these are all from they expect it from approved provider or the NHS itself. The other thing is, as I said, in the quarantine, certain countries allow you to quarantine either. If you are British passport holder and double vaccinated, they say, oh, that's fine, you come to my country, no, nothing required. You can go there, anticipating that they will allow you. But the airline, they want to have the negative test result. So check with your airline as well, whether what sort of test, whether it's a PCR test or antigen test that they require. The next one, I think I leave it with Kavi. He'll talk about traveling with the children, and the rest of the part he'll talk about it.
Okay, I think you can hear me. So before we go to this one, the first thing, when anyone wants to book a test, the first thing you'll ask is over the phone, I want to go to this country, what test should I take? What test should I take? Or when should I take? So basically, we don't suggest, what test they should take, because each country, they are different. Some countries, they ask for a PCR. Some countries, ask for a rapid antigen or NAT, different tests, right? So again, we know that what test they should take, because we have communications from the government, the HSC directly, but again, they're changing overnight. So if you just misguide them and then they go to the airport and then they get stuck and we'll be in problem. So we always tell them that to check with the country, authorities, or maybe the airline. Airline is the best place because they are the one going to allow them. So we ask them to just ring the airline and find out what test they need and what is the requirement, like is it 72 hours or 48 hours. That's very important again. So again, so once they find out, okay, they need a PCR, say for example, and then the country asks for 48 hours, time frame for the test. Then we can guide them, when they should come for the test, so that the test will be eligible, when they go to the airport. Again, when it comes to children, it's the same case. So every country asks for different, age types. Some countries 10 years and above, some countries 5 years and above, and India, like countries like India, every children need testing. So it's very unfortunate that they need testing. So again, we don't suggest. They are different. I mean, you can see. I mean, the whole testing. I would call it like it's expanded. So much. You see, like there are so many testing, so many requirement. Where you're coming from. I mean, within this UK government, like you say, age year 4 above, or sometimes 5 and above, or 10 and above. There is another type called a test to release. If you want to break the quarantine on the 5th day, I think that they all will go away in after 3 weeks. But the day-to-day test, and then they all will be there for some time. So again, these will likely be changed every 2 weeks or 3 weeks once the government decides what, it is very, it's very constant, it's changing every time. So again, we don't suggest this is a passengers needs to find out the country and the children's age requirement. Okay, so this is, I think I had a different slide before. So this is a test need anyone coming to UK from any country. The government, UK government has a different, the traffic light system. They have a green, amber, and then red. So the red countries have to quarantine in the hotel for 10 days. So where they take day 2 and day 8 test, and then they cannot come out of the quarantine from the hotel 10 days. And then amber is like, I think at the moment France is in amber list. Yeah, amber plus. So they have to quarantine home, and then they must take day 2 and day 8 test. Okay, and then there are another type of test, like the people coming from amber list country other than France, if they are fully vaccinated, and then they just need to take only day 2 test. They don't need to quarantine. And the same thing for green list, they have to take 1 test and no need to quarantine. So they all, again, is so much reading everyone has to do. It's not, the travel become so stressful, not taking booking a flight online and then going to the airport. It's not like that. It has to be, it's very stressful. After coming for a test to company like us, we have to, there is a process going through. The PCR test is so sensitive. Sometimes we don't get, the result, like either positive or negative. It will be like inconclusive. So it will be like an invalid test. They can't travel with that test. I mean, it's the nature of the PCR test. So again, they may have so much plan, but at the end they cannot go. It's not our problem. It's not anyone's problem. It's just the nature of the test. So that's also happening. But it's against a problem with, say, family of 5 or 4, the plan for everything. They come for a test. If one person's are positive or inconclusive, the others will be stuck, the whole family can't travel. So that's happening, unfortunately, right now. So these just a green list rules that I just spoken about this. So if anyone coming to UK, to England especially, they have to take a day 2 test, and they have to complete passenger locator form. There's a passenger locator form, government form, and they fill the form and they come here. So we'll track the passenger who's coming to England, whether they have taken the test or not. So we know exactly, the government knows exactly whether they're taking the test or not. So that's, and then again, the same thing, if rules, again, these rules at the moment valid, but they may not tomorrow. So the amber list countries do same thing, a day-to-day test, and no need to, they need to quarantine, like France. Okay, and the red list countries, we know India, Pakistan, few more countries are red list. So they'll have to quarantine at the hotel and pay, I think 1,700, 1,750 for the 10 days cost to stay in the hotel. Yeah, and then this one just tick boxes, yeah, so at this place you continue.
So just to what Kavi said, I'm just consolidating the screen. There are, in traffic light system, there are 3 rules: green country, amber country, and red country. Red country, they don't come to us because they will be straight away going to the hotel, and I think it's called the hotel, they charge around 1,750 to 1,800 pounds for the 10 days as a package. So they don't come to us. The hotel, they have to stay within the hotel. They allow you to walk around the hotel, and there itself they'll do the day 2 and day 8. So the passenger locator form is common for everyone. Before they get into the flight, they have to do it. And the pre-departure test is also everyone, whether green, amber, red country, they have to take it. Self-isolation for green country, they don't have to do it. And for amber country, yes, for 10 days. Exception, now if you are double vaccinated, you don't need to do it. Red country, not applicable because they will be in the hotel. The test to release, again, it's only for the amber country. As usual, the green country, they don't need to, they will be already free. And red country, obviously, they can't do it. So that's the same thing, it's narrating it. So we are just stressing it, yeah. The fully vaccinated travels, as I said, the amber list countries, those who are fully vaccinated, they don't have to quarantine if they are vaccinated within UK. They are extending it to from 4th of August, they are extending it to those vaccinated within European Union and to the USA as well, yeah. And other exemption for work, medical or compassionate reasons. There is a huge list people are exempted, like truck drivers and aeronautical engineers, and for medical or compassionate reasons. So you can refer, the best place to look for this thing is government guidance. And yeah, what else? So when to book? You can book the test before you departure. It's 24, as I said, mentioned earlier, 24 or 48 hours or 72 hours before departure. Again, check the government guidelines or the destination country guidelines. And the day 2 and day 8 booking, you can do it before you leave UK or 48 hours before you departure from the foreign country. And the important point which you need to refer, when you book the day 2 and day 8, we will give the booking reference number, which you need to enter into the passenger locator form. And then for the test to release, the Home Office will give you a unique reference number, which starts with UKVI. You need to enter that reference number. These are all the numbers using which the government track you down, they monitor. And when you're booking the day 2, day 8, from which country, in the initial screen, we have shown day 2 green, day 2 amber, that sort of things, which is again for the government to monitor from which country you arrived, that sort of things. So I think we are running out of time, so we're just finishing it up. We don't have much time to question and answer. You email us. We have 1 minute to answer.
Yeah, Raghu, if you have any questions, Raghu, sorry, you can quickly answer.
No, I can't see any questions. I suppose, you tried your level best to simplify things of system which is so complex. And this presentation obviously is valid at 1:30 on 1st of August. Come tomorrow morning again, rules might change. It might be something else, I suppose. No, I can't see any questions. So yeah.
That's all good. Okay. So if you have any questions, otherwise we can start next one.
Good. Yeah. Thank you, Ravi.
Thank you,
Raghu. Thank you, Ravi.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Paul, it's over to you.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So good to go. Welcome everyone to RISE Talks, RISE-24 for anyone who's just joined in. Today I have the pleasure of introducing Arya Sashikumar. Do you want to turn your video on, Arya? There we go. So Arya Sashikumar, he's 17 years old. His parents and my parents have been friends, so we've met each other before, but a few years back. And today he's introducing us on a very unique, very different topic about Vex Robotics. Now, Arya, I have loads to say about him, but we would be here for a long time if I did. So I'll just mention a few succinct points. So he's an expert in Vex Robotics and actually runs a robotics club in Dublin in California, but it's called Dublin Robotics Club, with his father. And not only has he founded it, he's also the chief technology officer there, and has also pushed his club and his people who are there into many big competitions where he has got state awards, world awards. He's also a Guinness record holder, which is insane. He's also a mentor and coach. And not only that, he's also written a book on introduction into Vex Robotics. And let me just remind you, he's done all this and he's still only 17, still in 12th grade, still in school. So I think in the next 10 years, he's got a lot to show us and a lot to improve about this world through his robotics. So Arya, we're very interested and very intrigued and lucky to have you. So whenever you're ready, please take it away. I'm not sure if we can hear you, Arya.
Perfect. Is it working now? Awesome. Thank you for the introduction. Let me start by sharing my slide deck right here. All right. Is it sharing? All right. So, my name is Arya Sasikumar. I'm a high schooler here in Dublin, California, and today I'm going to be speaking about a brief introduction to Vex Robotics and what it can do for your community. So in this presentation, we're just going to be going through a little bit about myself, and then afterwards I want to talk about what Vex Robotics is specifically in the nature that I've competed in it, and then based on that, leading into a story about how I started with my father, the company Dublin Robotics, where we teach K-12 students about robotics education through the Vex Robotics platform. And then finally, I wanted to touch upon the communal benefits that you can achieve by participating in robotics competitions and what it can do for you and your community as a whole. So again, a little bit about myself. My name is Arya Sasikumar. I'm a high schooler here in Dublin, California. I have a passion for robotics engineering, and I've been competing in these competitions for the last 7 years. So I have a lot of experience in this regard with robotics competitions. And I guess some of my qualifications for talking about this and presenting today is, yeah, just like the introduction Paul gave me earlier, I'm the Chief Technology Officer and co-founder of Dublin Robotics Club. I have been the VEX World Champion just this last year for the 2021 season, and the VEX World Finalist for the 2018 season of the robotics competition. Additionally, in 2018, I was the VEX Robotics National Finalist for the Create US Open tournament, which is a really high honor in the VEX community. I've also been the state champion 3 times in California. Some of my other achievements is I'm a multi-patent inventor, which we'll touch upon later in the presentation, as well as an international robotics competitor. So actually just before COVID, a couple of months before COVID, I actually went to the UK and competed in a robotics competition there. And I've also competed in robotics competitions in China, Macau, Mexico, Hawaii. So I've traveled a lot and not just played in the California competitions, but across the world as well. And then finally, I'm currently doing research on LiDAR, which is a sensor that is used to map 3D space pretty much, and I'm implementing that into robotic systems. So a lot of my qualifications and a lot of the past few years of my life have been very in line with learning more about robotics and pursuing that as that is where I want to go in the future as a career. So like I mentioned before, I've been doing robotics for 7 years, and that's me on the left in 2014. And that is me a couple of weeks ago after the VEX Robotics World Championship. So very big difference in terms of like the type of robots I've built, the quality and the construction of the robots. And I've learned a lot over the past few years as well. And one thing I want to touch upon is not just the potentially like the technical knowledge that I've learned over the years, such as like how to build robots better, but also some of the soft skills that I've developed over the years as well. For example, like through learning how to communicate better, competing in competitions, interacting with new people that you've never met before, and working together to achieve a more beneficial outcome in these tournaments. So first thing I want to start with is talking about VEX robotics competitions. So this is specifically the brand of robotics competitions that I am the most experienced with, and I've been competing in the last several years. There's a couple of different types of robotics competitions. So for example, there's FRC, which is First Robotics Challenge. There's FTC, which is First Tech Challenge, I believe. And there's a bunch of other versions of robotics competitions as well. But personally, I've competed the most extensively in VEX robotics competitions. And the reason I personally compete in VEX robotics competitions is because it lets you as a student get the best, I'd say the most comprehensive understanding of all mechanical programming, computer science systems. And you can really get into a lot of depth, which I'm hoping to communicate some of that today with this platform. So this specific platform, there's over 20,000 teams competing on it from kindergarten to 12th grade, and an international robotics platform. So there are over 40 countries, I believe, that are competing in these competitions. So it's a very large program, and the World Championships every year are they take place in one of the biggest convention centers in the United States. So that kind of put it into perspective. But VEX Robotics, it's a STEM education game-based engineering challenge. So each year teams are presented with a brand new challenge or objective in which they must design a robot to complete those objectives to the maximum extent of their abilities. So we want to create the best and most efficient robots every single year. And while you're trying to do that, there's also 20,000 other teams in the world who are also trying to do that. And the reason this competition is such a good way to learn is because it's learning through competition. So there is the aspect of, yeah, you're competing with each other and you want to beat the other teams. But in that pursuit, you also learn a lot more about how you can optimize mechanisms, what other teams are doing, and how you can implement that into your robot. So through that competition, you're able to actually learn a lot and benefit both parties, you and your competitors, right? So one unique thing about the VEX robotics competition as well is that it comes with a set of pre-modifiable parts. So they will sell you, on their platform, they have all of the metal parts. You might be able to see in some of these photos right here, they have the robots, they have metal channels, they have wheels, they have gears, and you essentially purchase these basic set of standard parts and you're able to buy them and then modify them and build your own robots inside of this sort of ecosystem. So that way everyone's on the same level, and it's not like a school who has like a $20,000 machine has like an insanely unfair advantage over a rookie team that's just starting out. It's a lot more leveled in that sense, which means that we can focus more on how we can learn, and there's less of a disparity in skill level in terms of the quality of parts that you're available to use. And teams must employ drive skill, mechanical skills, programming skills, documentation, strategy, communication, presentation. All of these skills come into play if you want to be successful in this competition. And to shine a little bit more light on the VEX robotics system, I'm going to quickly share a video of the VEX robotics competitions, this year's challenge for the VEX robotics competitions, that is.
Greatest 2 minutes in robotics, the 2021-2022 game, VEX robotics competition, Tipping Point. Tipping Point is played on a 12-foot by 12-foot field by 2 alliances, one red and one blue, made up of 2 teams each. The object of the game is to get more points than the other alliance by scoring rings, moving mobile goals to alliance zones, and by elevating on platforms at the end of the match. The VRC Tipping Point field consists of 72 rings and 7 mobile goals. Each alliance has 2 alliance mobile goals, with the remaining 3 goals being neutral. Each alliance also has a platform located in their home zone. Rings are 4.125 inches in diameter. Each robot starts the match with up to 3 rings as a preload. Rings scored in the base of a mobile goal are worth 1 point each. Rings that are scored on an alliance mobile goal or on the lower branch of a neutral mobile goal are worth 3 points each. Rings that are scored on the high branch of a neutral mobile goal are worth 10 points each. Rings that are scored on an alliance mobile goal will count for the respective alliance regardless of where it ends the match. However, rings that are scored on neutral mobile goals will only count for an alliance if the mobile goal ends the match in their home zone. Each mobile goal scored in an alliance's home zone is worth 20 points, plus the points for any rings scored on that mobile goal. As the match draws to a close, robots will start heading back towards their alliance platforms. Each robot that ends the match elevated on a balanced alliance platform is worth 30 points for that alliance. And any mobile goals that are elevated on a balanced platform are worth 40 points. Each match begins with a 15-second autonomous period, where robots can score rings or race to the center of the field to snatch an early advantage in possessing mobile goals. The alliance that scores more points in the autonomous period is awarded with a 20-point bonus added to the final score at the end of the match. Each alliance also has the opportunity to earn an additional win point in the autonomous period by scoring at least 1 ring on each of their alliance's mobile goals and clearing their autonomous win point line. The 1-minute, 45-second driver control period begins once the autonomous bonus winner has been determined. At the end of the driver control period, after all scoring objects and robots have come to rest, the match will be scored to determine the winning alliance. Remember, VRC games are not scored until the driver control period has ended. VRC Tipping Point can also be played in skills challenges, where one team competes against the clock, remote skills and live remote tournaments, where teams compete from their own homes, the collegiate level VEX U competition, where teams design 2 robots using advanced materials, and the VEX AI competition, a completely autonomous challenge using industry-level machine learning techniques. Check out the game manual or talk to your REC Foundation Regional Support Manager for all the details.
So that is this year's VEX robotics competition, and this is the challenge that all 20,000 teams in the world have to design a robot to actually solve. And this is a very, you can kind of get an understanding of the competitive aspect of the games, where you have the red team versus the blue team, and you're competing to see who can score more rings on the post this year, and then who can move these goals onto the platform and then balance the platform. So these are all the aspects that teams need to develop robots to do efficiently and better than pretty much the rest of the world if they want to be the world champion or make it very high in these competitions, right? So it's through that competitive aspect, you're having to build new mechanisms, learn about new different systems, and through that kind of process, you learn a lot more pretty much about engineering, robotics, programming.
Welcome to the world's greatest.
So let's go to the next one right here. So as you can see, once you see the challenge in the game for this year's competition, you have to determine, what type of drivetrain you want to build, what type of lift mechanism you want to build. How are you, in this case, how are you going to put the rings on the actual post? How are you going to carry the entire goal onto a platform, right? So these are all the challenges, and based on those challenges, teams have to look at all the possible different systems they can build. So for example, this is a photo of a drivetrain in the top left-hand corner. On the top right-hand corner, we have a double four bar, which is a type of lift mechanism. And below that, we have a conveyor belt on the bottom right. And on the bottom left, we have a catapult. So each of these mechanisms have their own pros and their cons. And based on the type of challenge that you're facing or the type of design or what you're trying to prioritize in a match, you have to kind of strategically choose which mechanisms you want to implement onto your robot, right? So for example, if you're going for height and you want to be able to score on the highest goal possible, what do you need to do? You need to be able to reach that height using a double four bar, as that's a mechanism that gives you complete linear height and linear motion, and it's able to give you a lot of height, right? Versus if you don't need to go as tall, maybe you go for a different type of lift, like just a normal four bar. If you want to be able to, if there's a situation where you need to be able to shoot balls very quickly, you might not choose a catapult, right? Because you have the reload time to spin the arm all the way back. Instead, you might choose something like a flywheel, where you're able to rapidly shoot a ball after ball after ball, right? Kind of like a tennis ball shooter, if you've ever used one of those. So based on the challenge, teams have to strategically figure out which mechanism is best and which